Good evening, and I'll call to order the Municipality of Monroeville's Citizens Night and agenda-setting meeting for August 8th, 2019. If you'd all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a very special evening. This evening, we are swearing in three more to our fine police department. We're going to shuffle the agenda around a little bit, Council. So, Chief Cole, if you have some words to say about our new hires before we do the swearing in, that'd be appreciated if you could introduce them to the community.
I could make them stand up and embarrass them here, but we'll just do that when you swear them in. We'll do that. Well, certainly on behalf of the Monroeville Police Department, Mayor, Council, Municipal Manager, thank you for letting us continue to get our department back up to staffing. With the addition of these three officers, we're up at 44 officers right now. We're going to try to get to 47 by the end of the year. So that's all been a very positive effect on the police department, and by and large. The first officer, I'm just going to kind of give their education history and, you know, when they went to high school, that type of stuff, and try to keep them from being too embarrassed. But I'll have James Monkellis. You want to stand up here in the middle? He graduated from Steel Valley High School in 1988. He's earned college credits at the Point Park University. He's a military veteran. He was in the U.S. Army Reserves from 1990 to 2000, honorably discharged as an E5 sergeant. His previous law enforcement experience, because we do hire previously employed officers or have experience, he was with the Pennsylvania State Police for over 23 years. He retired from the Pennsylvania State Police in 2019. His duty assignments were included mostly Western Pennsylvania, Somerset, Fayette, Westmoreland, and Allegheny counties. He retired in good standing as a corporal, and was assigned as a patrol supervisor in Uniontown in the Pittsburgh area and in the Pittsburgh barracks when he retired. He's an instructor in taser instructor, firearms instructor, active shooter, rapid deployment instructor, and a pepper spray instructor. So stay away from him. I mean, he has a lot of. But that's
why we hired him.
So he's got a wealth of as all the officers do here that we hired. But he has a wealth of experience. Next officer is Jeffrey Vertullo. Jeff, he's a younger guy here, so he graduated from Murraysville High School for Franklin Regional in Murraysville in 2012. He has a Bachelor's of Science in Criminal Justice from Penn State University in 2016. And his previous law enforcement experience, we got him off of New Kensington Police Department, but he also worked in Delmont Borough prior to that and Washington Township Police Department, so all in Westmoreland County. So we're glad to have him on board. And then finally, Adam Candido. And I butchered their names, I apologize. He graduated from North Catholic High School in 2003. He's received college credits from both Edinburgh University of Pennsylvania and Everest Institute. His previous law enforcement experience included where we hired him from Mount Oliver Police Department, the most recent. He was a detective corporal there. He also worked in North Braddock, Freeport Police Department, and Oakdale Borough Police Department. He has certifications in taser instructor and less lethal munitions. So we're real lucky to have these individuals. They've fit in pretty well. They've been here like about a month now already, I guess. So without further ado, Mayor, we'd like you to swear them in.
Please raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, say your name,
I, James Montellis,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
and that I will enforce the laws
and I will enforce the laws
of this Commonwealth
of this Commonwealth
and the ordinances of the Municipality of Monroeville,
and the ordinances of the Municipality of Monroeville,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
and I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
I do further swear
I do further swear
that I will uphold, obey, and enforce the law
that I will uphold, obey, and enforce the law
without consideration to a person's race, color, or sex,
without consideration of a person's race, color, or sex,
religious creed or sexual orientation,
religious creed or sexual orientation,
age or national origin,
age or national origin,
ancestry,
ancestry,
handicap, or disability.
handicap, or disability.
Congratulations.
Hey, Chief.
Doug.
Doug.
Yes, sir. Hang on a second.
She's starting already.
Would you have the new officers come by and meet council and introduce the officers who are standing in the back of the room so we all get to know them?
The rest is second.
Okay. Here, start with me. Hi, Linda Gavis. Welcome.
Hi, Jim.
Thank you. Hi, Linda. Very nice to meet you.
Welcome
Thank you.
aboard.
Welcome. Nice to meet you. Welcome. Come guys. Come on up. Mr. Wilson asked for you.
I've seen you before.
Linda Gavis. Yes, let's just keep doing it. Congratulations. Big long time. Lewis, how are you?
Congratulations. Congratulations.
My bad. You need to stronger.
Hello.
Hi.
For a while. Hello.
Oh, I never saw her.
Finally graduated.
Hello.
Well, we would, you're prepping yourself, I get it. I get it.
I did.
See you, Matt.
Thank you.
I have to go down there.
Teen Crumpets
Yeah.
family.
Yay to the families too.
Welcome, thank you.
Thank you for coming up.
Thanks, folks.
Really?
When I was getting up to the plate, I tripped.
Lane had already.
Okay.
There's a second report. If it gets confusing or something, we'll work it out.
That's nice. I like to see it.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We want to welcome our new officers to the force, to our already outstanding police department and our public safety department, which kind of is a continuation of what I want to talk about briefly here before we got our meeting started. We had a major rain event on July 21st. This major rain event was a northern storm. It impacted multiple communities. The northern tier of Monroeville, primarily the Logan's Ferry area, Old Wayne Highway, Abers Creek Road, the Thompson Run watershed, which encompasses those regions. We had some measurements of over 4 inches of rain within an hour. We had extensive damage in our community along 286, numerous businesses, numerous homes. We had 31 calls for service in a 2-hour period, which kind of leads me into my next segment, and it's an appropriate night with us hiring our officers. We did not miss one phone call, one call for service out of our in-house dispatch center. All the fire departments were called out that evening, all the EMS units. We brought in an extra dispatcher to run communications, and by and large, as far as a response, it went flawlessly. We had a house fire during the evening. We had a car that was swept away. We had a woman that was trapped in her car and on top of her car after driving through standing water when her car was washed away. A lot of things happening in a short period of time. And I just want to publicly commend all the fire departments, all the fire chiefs, our entire emergency management umbrella, which that falls under. Our police department, we had our one of the shifts hold over to stay on, so we had more manpower that evening. It was a terrible evening, and we're still recuperating from that. 4 inches of rain or more in an hour is a challenge to control. We certainly know that with all the flooding that we've been seeing and we saw. And what we have been doing in the meantime is reaching out to Plum Borough and working with them, because it being a northern storm, not only was it our water, but it was also Plum's water as it all rolls downhill, and we're trying to find ways that we can slow that down or control it. You won't be able to manage that much water in that short a period of time. You can't. It's just impossible. But what we're doing with our stormwater management department is finding ways that we can slow it down, and that's why this council has enacted and started this department this past year to try to make improvements in that realm. The challenging part with this is that EPA controls a lot of the DEP controls a lot of the issues with wetlands and also with streams. There are private property issues that are a challenge, but what Monroeville is going to do is improve where we can our stormwater management detention and try to slow down the water in these regions. It being multiple counties, as far as a disaster declaration, when multiple communities are involved, now the county is the one that makes the call on emergency disaster calling or disastered area. If it's multiple counties, then the state and PEMA get involved as well. So at this point, they did evaluate, the county was out and evaluated the region, not only was with us, but Plum, Penn Hills, and I think some other communities as well. And they have made a determination that is not declared an emergency. However, what they are going to be offering is small business, the SBA, Small Business Association, will be providing loans at a low interest rate, not only to businesses but also to homeowners for repair to the businesses and to the homes. Now, Chief Cole, I believe he might have stepped out with his officers. He had a little bit more to say about this. Does anyone know where the chief is at? I think someone finally grabbed him.
Can I ask a question? Are you allowed to ask questions now?
Not yet.
We're going to have a public comment period in a little bit. But Chief, I know it's a big night for you with the new officers, but if you could maybe speak more about the emergency management declaration or lack thereof in the SBA loan and what people can do as far as that goes.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to apologize for being a little bit sidetracked here, too.
No problem.
When the event happened with the flooding event, we certainly, I guess we're going to talk a little bit about the emergency response to that was quite appropriate and took care of mitigating the factors that were happening with the rescues and basically just trying to get roads closed down and trying to keep everybody safe. I don't need, certainly the people from Avers Creek area and even in the 286 area, and of course other areas of Monroeville, we have core areas that flood pretty routinely. And certainly the rain event that night as it progressed certainly became something more unusual than a normal quote-unquote flood event. So after the response was over, the next day I tried to discuss certain issues with people on the Avers Creek area, what we can and cannot do, and of course get the information to the county so that they can start preparing for what they think would be appropriate response with any type of help with funding or help with repairs and things like that, or with the flood issues. Within the first 3 days, we started doing damage assessments. We certainly did what they call a window damage assessment initially, which indicated that we need to have a more further damage assessments, and we continued doing that throughout the week after the rain event, which was on a Sunday night. By Thursday, we kind of had a pretty good feel that the communities affected, there's really only a handful of communities affected, but the two primary communities, little one was Plum and, of course, Monroeville, and the other two were Penn Hills and the Oakmont area, too. The county emergency management coordinator told me at the beginning that he didn't think it was going to rise to the level within the first couple days of being with a declaration of emergency that the county would be willing to entertain. He was in consult with the county exec, and they decided pretty early on that they didn't think they would have to declare an emergency because they thought that we would only reach the level of the Small Business Administration loans, the SBA loans. So we filled all the proper paperwork out. We did the proper surveys, including talking to many residents and businesses. Our businesses were affected on 286. And with the help of the county, emergency management personnel, like 4 or 5 of those individuals, did a great job in assessing the damage that happened both in Plum and Monroeville and in the neighboring areas. They then got a hold of PEMA. The following week after the flood, that would have been the Monday after, 7 days later, PEMA, Pennsylvania Emergency Management Association, came in. They're the ones that have to make the paperwork to have the federal government declare for the Small Business Administration loans. So they came through, and they lasted maybe a half a day, and they said they saw enough that they believed that it was going to qualify, and so they pushed the paperwork through. And as of today, we've now been declared the July 21 and 22 storms that the immediate release from Allegheny County was that we would be qualifying for, and the federal government approved Small Business Administration loans. So we put it on our website, but just real quickly, again, it just happened today, August 8th. There's going to be dates where you can go to a disaster loan outreach center. They call it DLOC. You know, the federal government always got to put acronyms with things. The DLOC center is going to be located at the Renton Volunteer Fire Department in Plum, and that's located at 1996 Old Mine Road, Pittsburgh, PA 15239. Again, this is all on our website. It's also on the county website. It's also on PEMA's website. You can, instead of going face-to-face to one of these centers, they're opening tomorrow at 11 a.m. It can be open from August 9th to August 20th with different hours. But instead of going to that center at Renton Fire Company, you can go online and fill the paperwork out if you were in the area and you were affected by the flood. The Small Business Administration provides loans to both businesses and private homes. The actual loans are 1% above prime, so they're somewhere around 2.7% right now. A business is eligible for up to $2.5 million, and again, these are loans. You got to qualify for the loan. And individual residential homes are allowed, or up to $200,000 per household. So that's the only federal, state, county assistance that we're going to be able to get out of these floods, because they were pretty isolated. And they didn't fall into any other criteria. And there's huge criteria for, disasters being declared on both both a local, county, state, and federal levels. So we've done what we've needed to do there, Mayor, and certainly our hearts go out to the individuals that have had damage. I was really proud of seeing a lot of the individuals taking care of stuff themselves. I certainly have to give a hats off to the Public Works Department and Mr. Hugas about how they got, when stuff was put out to the curb to be taken by the garbage, if it takes 2 garbage trucks to get it done or a bunch of dump trucks, we are pretty self-sufficient there. It goes without saying that the response to this event, to mitigate the risks, we definitely had people in peril. With the rescue side of it, the fire EMS side of it, and there were some other county and regional assets that came out to help us, was second to none. It was extremely quickly done and certainly effectively done. It was done safely. One of the other things to note here is, our dispatch center handled many, many calls. We had people telling us that, and it does happen with the county, that they get overwhelmed, and there you kind of get into a queue where you are in a hold mode before someone will even answer the phone. That didn't really occur here. Our emergency communication center, this is where they shine. These individual smaller dispatch centers really make a difference because we can allocate resources quicker. We have easier access to us with multiple lines, and again, Jim Tomasic did a great job. He came out, and we even got people into this dispatch center to help offset, which the county did the same thing. It just takes a little more time. And of course, when you think about the county, they have to cover a huger area, so they get a lot more calls than we do, but certainly we were able to allocate our resources and making a positive difference in the response and mitigation of the event. But I was really impressed on the local level how people on their own with the help of neighbors really started taking care of their own property and cleaning things up, and even helped cleaning up some of our areas that needed to be cleaned up, like Avers Creek, for instance. So hats off to them, Mayor.
Thank you, Chief. And yes, and I'm glad you brought up the Public Works Department as well. They were out that evening with roads and cleaning things, pulling things back, and they really, we want to commend all of our first responders and the emergency management umbrella that had to come out that evening.
Yeah, the
Chief.
events, just to give a quick, we started around 10 o'clock, and we were pretty much starting to wind down by 3 a.m. So you're looking at a 5-hour block there. It was a pretty hectic 5 hours.
Very good. Chief, I'm going to keep you on the floor if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
One more thing, a different subject matter, but we want to just get this out to the public. If you could maybe speak about some of the car issues that were happening recently.
Absolutely. I guess the newspaper article came out. I've been getting people calling me about it too. We've been dealing with really in earnest. Historically, we get thefts from vehicles, and even to throw some numbers at you with our auto thefts, our auto thefts back in the 80s and the 90s were in the hundreds category, like the 400 category. We, for the past 15 years, really starting in a little after like 2002, 2003, we started getting down that we were only averaging somewhere between 25 and 50 auto thefts a year. We pretty much stay into that. We started to see an uptick in June of this year, as well as thefts from vehicles. And really what it became is, as we said in the, as I said in the newspaper article, all these vehicles were left unlocked. And all the vehicles that were stolen were left with their keys in the vehicles unlocked. So these are opportunity crimes. And they were, in most cases, juveniles. And, subsequent to that, we've been able to recover all of those vehicles. Some were really only moved a couple blocks. Some, in one place, one of the vehicles was only moved to the other side of the housing plan. So the reality was we've been able to make arrests. We've made, and of course I can't comment on juvenile arrests, but we've made well over 3 groups of juveniles, we'll just leave it at that we've made arrests on. We've recovered stolen vehicles that were both from our town and from outside our town. And this was something that became somewhat of this summer, certainly the month of June and July, became a countywide, actually a multi-county-wide issue. We've recovered vehicles that were taken from Penn Township, from Murraysville, from different areas, from Greensburg, from different areas in Westmoreland County. And we've also had vehicles taken, we had 12 stolen vehicles from June 1 to July, the end of July here. And in that time, we have made arrests, and other departments have made arrests also. So we hope we're trying to put a little kibosh to this event. It seems like it's slowed up here, but the bottom line of this is you must keep your vehicles locked and secured, even if they're in your driveway. It's just that's just what you have to do, and certainly don't leave the keys in it and make it easy for someone to go ahead and take that car. You never know when someone's out wandering around at 2 or 3 or 4 in the morning. These events were occurring usually between 2:30 and 5 a.m. to give you an idea of the hours. So just want to try to remind the public of that. We think we've got our arms around it, certainly big cognizant. And the same thing, if you see anybody at those hours walking around, especially around a home, don't hesitate to call the police department. Call us immediately. We'll get cars there right away, and we'll identify maybe it's legit, maybe it's not, but certainly anybody that's loitering around, it's called loitering and prowling at night. It's even a crimes code violation. So we have a reason to stop and talk to someone if they're in residential areas walking around at night, that type of night. So we have addressed that. Hopefully, hats off to both the detective division, who's done a bunch of follow-ups. We've actually processed cars that we've recovered, and we've just like this CSI stuff, we've matched fingerprints to individuals where we have arrested after the fact. So we were able to match and add theft calls or vehicle thefts on the individuals that we've arrested because we were able to match them to other cars forensically. And the county crime lab, in addition to processing our stolen vehicles, which was great, they were also using not just fingerprints, they were doing DNA too. So we have DNA hits possibly coming back on it too. So we're doing everything we can to make arrests, and my hat's off to both the patrol division as well as the detective division. They've done a great job.
Thank you, Chief. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And before we get to our Night for Citizens comments, I would like to call to the floor Dwight Bottoff, for the Chief Veterans Administration Officer. Welcome. If you could just maybe give your presentation.
Sure. Good evening. Thank you for having me. Again, my name is Dwight Bottoff. I'm the Chief Veterans Affairs Officer for Allegheny County. I'm pleased to be here tonight to speak to you a little bit about what our services are at the county for veterans. Before I do that, I just would like to make a comment about the flood. The state, as well as the county, does run a program for veterans as well as any surviving spouses of veterans for up to $1,600 a grant once a year for emergency type situations. And since the county has declared an emergency for the flood, anybody within those defined zones would be eligible for this grant. So if anybody wants to apply for that, what they would do is they would contact my office, bring in a estimate of the work charges as well as some pictures of the damage done to the house, and we would work with them in the state to help them apply for up to that $1,600.
Thank you. We'll get that information off of you later, and we can put that on our website for the residents. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for that.
Yeah, I just thought I wanted to mention
No, we
that
appreciate
while
that.
we're talking about the floods. So what we do at the county as far as working with veterans is we have approximately 80,000 veterans within Allegheny County, the largest within the state. Pennsylvania has the fourth largest number of veterans in the country. Here in Monroeville, you have about 2,700, give or take, depending on who's moving in and out, from all different service eras. We have from folks that are still in the service at 18 years old, folks from World War II veterans. We also have quite a number of family members. And what we do is we work with them to help them obtain their veterans' benefits. We work directly on their behalf, not as a third-party agency. So we have a power of attorney that we work with these individuals to help them navigate their compensation, health care, education, home loan, emergency assistance, and anything really in between for the veterans and their family members. So in any given day, we're working with roughly 200 to 400 veterans within my office from around the region. We also assist in working with social services organizations for veterans that are in danger of becoming homeless, that are currently homeless, behavioral health problems. Perhaps they might need a discharge upgrade from their military service, substance abuse issues, and we work also quite a bit with surviving spouses for pensions, as well as next of kin and family benefits for these individuals. So we do quite a bit over at the county. We work hand in hand with the VA as well as the state and the Department of Defense, and we have direct access to a lot of the federal, state, as well as county systems. We also do quite a bit of outreach. We are often out either in the streets, out of different municipal events, doing street outreach, your traditional outreach, as well as more modern. We're moving into social media, as well as monthly newsletters will be starting in September, so that veterans and their family members in and around the region can get the most up-to-date information as soon as possible. Things often change with veterans' benefits, state regulations, federal regulations, county regulations, and it's important to keep up to date to ensure that they're getting the benefits that are entitled, they're entitled to. So I'll be happy to leave my information here as well, because I want to be cognizant of your 5-minute rule here. But I also wanted to end on saying that the most important benefit in my mind is that if you did not know, you get free coffee at Get-Go if you are a veteran any day for any size. So it's, in my
Very
book,
important
that is the
announcement.
most
Very
important one. Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to ask,
Go ahead.
if I can. Dwight,
sir.
I've been working with Kim Karivka, and hopefully you can maybe assist. We were looking to get the Veterans Benefits Administration to come into our area. Is there any help we can get from the county on that?
There is, actually. I'm glad you brought that up. So I've been with the county about 4 months now, which is why we're starting to do a little bit more outreach. I came from the VA.
That's where I retired from. Too.
So I actually reached out back to some contacts, and starting with the North Boroughs area, Bellevue, kind of Ross Township area, we are starting to do a claims and information clinic in conjunction with the VBA. So we will actually, you guys are on my list to reach out to and contact and set that up. So the idea being that
I was looking at Monroeville Mall too. Because Burlington's moving out, and I was kind of hoping we.
Yeah, so what we would do is we would work with you guys and look at a place that would be advantageous for the citizens here, easy to get to, have all the necessary security encryptions for the government, and bring them out at least once a month, possibly more, depending on how their staffing is, in conjunction with us to help the veterans and the family members in the region file for their benefits directly with the VA and get answers in a timely manner. So it's less travel for them. They can hear it directly from the federal government. There are other programs and things that we may be able to bring out.
Is that going to
in
be pretty much
conjunction.
just county, or is that going to be the VBA as well as you guys?
County and VBA.
Okay.
So we're doing it 2 and 2. So 2 county members, 2 VBA members at a minimum. They may bring out more VBA.
That's Veterans Benefit
Staffers.
Administration for people that may not know that. I know the veterans do, but
Yeah, so depending on how many veterans come out for the first one will inform us of how many staff members we need, or if we can work with you guys on an estimate of how many we expect to right-size the staffing for the Veterans Benefits Administration. So they have a mandate to do more outreach, and we are trying to do more outreach. So we're kind of the interface between the local community and the federal government. So if you do wish to do something even with the Veterans Health Administration,
yes.
that would also, we could help you with that, and then including the National Cemetery Administration too. So we do quite a bit with veterans and widows burial benefits processing, the cemeteries of the Alleghenies, local cemeteries, probably about 400 to 500 burials a month that we work with for veterans in the region.
Thank you.
Great information.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Great.
We appreciate
Thank
it.
you, and my information I'll have in the back here, and I'll leave some up here as well too.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dwight.
Thanks, Dwight. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be stepping over to our Citizens Night portion of the meeting, our remarks and comments. This is your time to speak about any municipal item for a Monroeville resident, Monroeville taxpayer. We always ask for you to hold to a 5-minute time limit. I will indicate to you when you have a minute left, and then I'll give you a minute, or whenever 5 minutes is up. We feel that's the best way to keep a meeting moving forward. We have a lot of people that would probably want to speak this evening, and we do have a long agenda. Not that we're trying to censor anyone, but 5 minutes, we can usually get your point across. And if we can answer your questions in this meeting, we will do so. If we're unable to, we will take your questions and get an answer to your questions as soon as we're possibly able to. So there is a sign-up sheet that Mr. Little is going to retrieve.
I can sign up.
You'll have an opportunity to sign up. Now's not your only
Go
chance.
ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead and do it. You're
Sign
there.
up now.
You can do it now. But not everybody needs to rush forward. So I'll call off the list of the order currently, but you'll have plenty of opportunity if you want to address council about any municipal item. Tonight would be your night to do so. At our regular council meeting on Tuesday, there will be 2 opportunities to speak. You'd be able to speak about any municipal item at the end of that meeting. So the way our comment periods work, we have our comment period this evening on Thursday, our Citizens Night, to speak about anything you want to in the municipality. Tuesday, before we vote on anything, you can speak about anything that's actually on the agenda. At the end of that same meeting on Tuesday, you would have another opportunity to speak, once again, make comments about any municipal item. Everybody understands that, correct? Very good. So, and like I said, we're going to try to keep to 5 minutes. I'm going to please ask council to allow the residents to speak so we don't get into taking up someone else's time. Let the residents get all their comments out during their comment period. If council wants to respond during their report or even after the comments period, please do so then, just so we make sure everybody gets their full 5 minutes to get all their comments out. That'd be appreciated. So we're going to start with Nicole Henline.
Hello. Thank you for giving me a minute. I'll try to keep it short. I know you have a lot of people who want to talk to you this evening, but I wanted to give you a couple of updates about things going on at the library. Our summer reading has just ended, and we had a record number of participants this year in all of our age groups. We had more adults participate than in the history of the adult summer reading program. The theme this summer was A Universe of Stories, which was perfect because as part of our NASA at My Library grant, we hosted a 50th anniversary moon landing party on July 20th. We had 142 plus people turn out to play carnival games, make moon dust art, and shuttle sliders, and learn about chemistry from Mad Science. Participants could watch 50-year-old footage of the moon landing itself, courtesy of our green screen. And thanks to our manager, Mr. Little, we were able to have the front page of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette from that weekend in 1969. Patrons stopped to read it and take their picture with it. That was exciting. We also had an Apollo 11 50 Years of Memory program with gallery artist Bob Bickers. And we were just thankful to have all sorts of great things about that momentous occasion. The Children's Department had an elevator party on Saturday.
A little late for that one.
Well, you know, it's done now. So they had a party on August 3rd. More than 70 people showed up for glow-in-the-dark games and activities. Oh, sorry. It was a fun time. Some upcoming programming we have. We have a documentary screening on Tuesday, August 20th from 7 to 8:30 called Pittsburgh to Paris. Our children's department has begun a new partnership with the New Story School. They are doing STEM outreach. They did it over the summer and will extend now into the school year. And they've also our children's department has scheduled Gateway special education outreaches for the 2019-2020 school year. And coming up very soon, we would like to invite all of council and our community to join us for the 3rd annual Fun Fest. This year it's going to be in August, on August 24th from 12 to 4. Join us on library grounds for a day full of fun, good food, bouncy houses, balloons, a magician, a cupcake contest, games, music, community vendors, crafts, and more. So please do join us. And mark your calendars. September is Love Your Library Month in Allegheny County. All donations, this is the 4th year, I believe, the Buncher Foundation has supported this. All donations and fundraising during the month of September will be part of a percentage match. And so your generosity will go further by donating or participating in a fundraiser in September. And one way to support the library in September is to attend the Friends Trivia Night on September 14th at 7 p.m. Bring a group of friends or come and join another team. $20 a person, BYOB, and there are excellent bragging rights. And we're also happy to tell you about 2 grants that we received recently. We received the Family Place grant, which carries an $18,000 value and allows us to improve services and opportunities in the children's library. And we're very excited to have received, through the Friends of the Library, a $5,000 grant from PPG for STEM programming. So we will continue to grow that program. So just a few things coming up. Please do join us for Fun Fest on August 24th. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you, Nicole.
Jeff Schaefer. Jeff, when you do get up here, if you could just state your name for the record, and that you don't have to say your address, but you can just state that you are a Monroeville resident.
Okay, I will. Jeff Schaefer, it's 242 Clover Drive, Monroeville. And the reason I state that is, it is about the flooding and that. My wife's going to make some comments too.
Sure.
But we've been flooded since back in Ivan. In fact, I was the Main Street manager in Millville during those times, and we flooded here too. And the difference between Millville being near the river and us being up here are different, but we're in the low part of Clover. And at that time, we had 20 inches of water, and we did get some money from FEMA at that time because it was pretty bad. But we've had smaller incidences, okay, over the years when it gets a heavy rain and that, or sustained rain or a heavy downpour. And it's been spreading in that, okay. In the last, I guess, 3 weeks, my wife has the statistics, we've basically been flooded about 3 times, up to a foot. Okay, and we've got it down that there's nothing down anymore, couches are up, minimal storage down there now, but we still have to clean it out, scrub it, and everything else. But now more neighbors are getting affected on that. And I know that there's limited things to do, especially at 4 inches of rain. But one of the things we'd like you to look at is our neighbor is a plumber, lives up on Haymaker Road. He's indicated that when they redid the road, they didn't mill the road before they paved it. And it's upset all the geometries in that the water goes right over the grates now. And it comes down over the yards. My neighbor just stopped to put in like a couple $1,000 system. He had a system there for drainage. He replaced the piping, and his backyard is still a swamp now. It's even worse. And water flowing down. We're doing some things so we can correct that. But we'd like you to take a look at that at least, okay? And I'll let my wife, give her her time. She's going to continue on because she prepared a speech for this, so, okay.
You mean the old Haymaker area it's coming?
Old Haymaker up there, yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Jeff. Yeah. Kim Schaefer.
Hi. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to read this because I'm not a public
Perfectly
speaker.
fine. You're perfectly fine. If you could, Kim, if you could state your name for the record.
Yes, my name is Kim Schaefer.
We already know where you live. Jeff.
Yes,
Jeff let it out of the bag.
and I live in constant fear of the rain. We've lived there for 24 years and have been flooded for the past 15. And it's all runoff from Old Haymaker. We have had 2 large sub pumps that are overwhelmed by the water flowing down from the street above. And as he mentioned, I'm not going to go through it, but it's worsened since they didn't mill Old Haymaker down and they paved over it. And a neighbor from up there called and said that he watches it come down on our properties, and he says it's not right. So 11 out of 23 homes and yards and porches were taking on water, not just Sunday, but we got flooded that Sunday and then 13 days later. I'd no sooner cleaned everything up. So people have had problems in the past, and now the people are having bigger problems. Or people that didn't have problems in the past are having problems now, and then the people that already had problems are having worse problems. And they added a new fee for Monroeville pollution and flood redirection of $120, but nothing's, we're still flooding. And I know it was just a new fee. And I was told by somebody in the borough, he come out and looked at the drains, and he said that the drain that is in our yard, that is Monroeville's, is probably collapsed. But I haven't seen or heard from anybody since that day. And we've been flooded once since then. So I've called and I get no return call. It needs to be diverted elsewhere, not into our yards and homes. It's common knowledge there's an underground spring back there. You can see the different color of grass behind our house, like in our neighbor's yard. And that's why our neighbor put the drain in, and he got flooded again after that. So I don't know why the drainage engineer would put water from Old Haymaker, runoff from Old Haymaker, back onto our street on top of that spring, knowing that spring was there. Because the guy from Monroeville that did come out, I said that's an underground spring, and he said, yes, I know. So I don't know why they're putting more water on top of that. We'd just appreciate it if it would be rectified as soon as possible. I do have a petition from the residents on Clover. Some of the Clover clan is behind me. And I don't know, should I give it to you?
I'll take it.
Give it to the mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And once again, we are doing what we're able to do
Right.
in these situations, but this is definitely something we can take a look at.
Right.
As far as Old Haymaker, that is a county road, but we can certainly notify the county about that issue. And there's numerous agencies and numerous
No, it's not.
entities.
That's our road. Old Haymaker's ours.
That portion of Old Haymaker?
Yeah, that's ours. Cut off.
Well, I drove
We're going
around
to look
up
at both
there,
of those then.
and from like the middle on down, there's no drains.
I just don't understand why they wouldn't mill it.
And they told, like I said, our neighbor told them, you need to mill this, it's not gonna, and the drains that were up there had debris in them, and they weren't in good
Well,
shape.
let's,
Yeah,
Kim,
well,
we're going to look into it, absolutely.
okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Justin Kalnicki. Justin Kalnicki, please.
This is my wife, Jennifer. We're
State your name for the record, please. That'd be great.
Justin Kelnicki, Woodhaven Drive. We were one of the ones that was affected by the flood. Mr. Tom Wilson showed up the day after. Mr. Harvey was out of town. We do appreciate seeing you, helping us out. Definitely kind words coming from both of you guys. We had over 27 inches of water enter our basement It all came down our backyard and flooded out our driveway, our cars. We are the house that ended up with an explosion that resulted in us being homeless. So we've talked to Mr. Harvey. We've called Joe Story. We've had sewage issues backing up into our house. Monroeville installed a grinder pump in our yard before we purchased our home. The grinder pump had gone out. Joe Story's been great responding, coming out, checking it, got some of those issues resolved. We've called several times to Jamie Story, never received return calls, which sounds like that's the common issue. We do not hear back. As residents, we want to know what's going on. We want to hear progress reports. Otherwise, it looks like nobody's doing anything, and it upsets us even more. Mr. Harvey was out, what was it, last Friday? Last Friday, we had another little burst of rain. My yard was underwater within about 4 minutes. Not only was it underwater from runoff, our sewage line was pumping up like a geyser out of the yard. So there's definitely an issue with the sewage lines. We asked if somebody can come take a look at those. As well as we have a piped-in creek behind our house. The piped-in creek, we're asking if somebody could take a look at that. Put a camera down it, run down through it, and see. 6 years we've lived in the house. It started out with a little stream down the side of the yard, and in the past 2 years, it takes me a week before I can cut grass. I had to buy chains for my lawnmower so I could get through my yard.
We've cut down trees.
I've cut down trees to allow sunlight into the yard to dry it up. I don't know what else to do. We've been told to French drain. The neighbors, same thing, French drain. Where can we French drain to? We can't. We're at a loss.
And we have to rebuild now, and we don't even want to rebuild on the property we have.
We love our location, but as a homeowner, you buy a house as an investment. Right now, I've thrown $35,000 out the window in 6 years. My investment is worthless. So we're asking that something be done. People come out and look. If any of the members want to come by the house, I'll meet with you, give you my personal cell phone number. I'll walk you through the house. I'll walk you through the yard. Please come out and take a look. Thank you.
Since I've talked to you, I have had a promise from 2 municipal authority people that they were going to come and look at that problem that I took pictures of in the backyard. And I don't know whether they came yet or not, but they told me they would be there.
Okay.
The water authority?
Municipal authority.
The municipal authority, okay.
Yeah, we have water and sewage problems
Yeah,
right
but
now.
the one that
We're separate from them,
Yeah.
even though we're kind of them, but
Yeah.
that's
when
why
I was
wanted
at
to
your
know who's
house, the
called.
one that was spouting water was a sanitary sewer.
Correct.
So that's why I called the municipal authority. They told me they would be.
Have you talked to anyone other than Joe Story from there?
Joe Story is the only one. I have his cell phone number. So anytime we had a problem, I'd call him, leave him a message. It'd be about 5 minutes or less.
Yeah,
I'd
he's
get a
really-
return
He's
call.
really good.
So
He's part of the sanitary
Yeah.
division.
Yeah, a week
So-
and a half before the flood, we actually had inches of sewage back up into our house because of the pump that they manage. And they had to come out and they told us that it had failed and they had to replace the whole
I
thing.
was just going to say that.
Okay.
So we legitimately we were just cleaning up from that in our basement when this 27
came
inches
through.
came through. I mean, we don't usually get water in our house like that.
Yeah.
Well, they told me that they didn't know that your pump had failed until you called that time.
Right. Yeah, I called him on my way.
Apparently that
back
red
in.
light on the telephone pole tells you it's working. It's
That it's
doing
yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, we're terribly
Sorry.
sorry to hear about your
Sorry.
ordeal, but we will have someone come out to evaluate the items that you mentioned. Mary Ann Garcher?
My name is Marion Gardner, And I also live on Woodhaven Drive. I am actually neighbors to Justin and Jennifer, and I have taken them into my house because them and their little baby are homeless right now. And we also have a water problem. In fact, I think all of Lower Woodhaven right now is a water problem. My house in particular, I've had issues probably for the last 11 years. I've called Monroeville. I've had Ron out to my house. I've had people out to my house. My yard is a swamp. It never dries out. I cannot cut my grass at all anymore. I was told that possibly you might need a French drain. I asked them if they could tell me at least what am I supposed to drain? Where do I drain to? Because we get water runoff down the hill, on the street. We have a storm drain that runs, that's, closed in. And it doesn't matter, that 4-inch storm was really bad. Our yard looked like a lake on that particular night. Normally, though, it looks like we have a small pond back there, and the water will come shooting out of the manhole in the back. It never dries out. And I've called Public Works and left messages for Jamie Story, I believe 4 times this year alone, and I have yet to get a return phone call. And I know when people were at Justin's trying to deal with his issue, the answer I got was, it's just a yard.
Yeah.
But it's my yard, and it's coming closer to my house, where it used to be maybe 10 foot by 15 foot around. It's now almost half of my yard. And I'm afraid that it is coming to the house. There's something going on with the drainage. When they closed those drains in, I don't know, maybe 30 years ago, it might have been adequate to handle the amount of water that's coming down. But what's happening now, it's not handling anything. And we are also at a loss. We don't know what to do about it.
Paul, when did they put that sewer pipe in?
1984.
And this house it was built by my grandfather. No one has lived in this house but my family, him, my parents, and now my sister and I. And we used to be able to play in that backyard, and we used to have a garden where the swamp is, and you can't do anything back there now. So I would just like for somebody to give us direction or find out what's going on.
Where do you suspect the water's coming from?
I don't know. We don't know. And even, I mean, I know you were there and saw the water coming out of the manhole. But I even had, and this wasn't the big storm. This was, these were taken in the middle of July, where you can actually see the manhole, and there's like paper products outside of the manhole, and this is supposed to be a storm drain. So I don't know what's going on.
Is that a storm drain or sanitary?
No, this was the storm drain.
Looks like a
sanitary.
This is the one in the
sanitary.
backyard?
That's
sanitary. Yeah.
And
I know
when
you were there. I know you were there. My mom was still alive when you were there.
the one that, didn't we have the camera?
You put a camera through, they did water samples, but nobody's ever gotten back to us and told us, like, did you find anything? Is there anything there else that we need to know? And the message I've left on the phone is that I'm just asking you for direction.
No, I get you. I just.
We're gonna get you some answers and some
I
direction.
just trusted that you would receive the.
No, and then I can't get return phone calls.
Well, we need to do a better job of returning calls, and we're gonna do that.
That's why I came up. It
Thank you.
wasn't the 4 inches of rain. I mean,
No,
that was
I can
bad.
justify
We
what-
get it all the
yeah.
time. We get it all the time.
Yeah, her landscaper can't drive the tractor.
Can't
through her
even run the
backyard.
mower through it. He's gotten it stuck. You had to put tarp under it, try to pull it out. Back in 2013, when I was still cutting it, I got it stuck and had to tarp and pull it out.
So it's worse than when I saw it?
It's way worse than when you were there, yes. Thank you.
Excuse me, I'd like to thank you for taking good care of Jennifer and Justin.
Oh, we love them. They're-
Well, it takes a special family or group to do something like that, and I think you're very special, and I want to say thank you very much. Everybody
No
should
problem.
know that this lady is doing some wonderful, nice things. Thank you.
No problem.
And Merritt, these people would be eligible for the low-interest loans that are currently.
Absolutely.
And are you guys aware of that?
Justin?
Yeah, we're.
I mean,
Mr. Harvey delivered that
Oh.
stuff to us to let us know about that. But why am I gonna sink more money into a property that's going underwater?
I understand.
We're going to call up Keith Berkelby. I apologize, missing the
Good evening, everyone.
here. You just state your name for the record.
Yes, sir. Keith Berkebile?
Berkelby.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I'm his wife Denise Berkebile.
Welcome.
Hi. We're here tonight to express our concern where we live at College Park Drive, 405 College Park Drive. We don't have the drastic issues as these good folks have behind us, but we're kind of concerned that we're maybe going down that same path. We're getting a lot of influx of water. How can I say this? It's almost like a cascade. It comes from University Park Middle School or the elementary school, across Upper Knoll, and our backyard is adjacent to a hill going from Knoll and goes
Are you on College Park or no?
College Park, and Knoll's behind us. It's up above us, sir. And we get water periodically, time to time. Obviously, we don't get it as bad as these folks did, but we do get it some in our basement. And over time, it's gotten a little bit worse and worse. And it's getting to the point now, well, the 4 inches of rain, as you said, sir, it's hard for anyone to control. I mean, that just hit everyone. I mean, you can't do anything about that. But, you know, even when you get like maybe a prolonged storm, you start holding your breath a little bit. And you don't know, you're praying that it passes so you don't have to do drastic things. But we've put our furniture up on blocks. We even have a sump pump. And that's all fine and dandy, but it only does so much. And we just want to express our concern. We just want someone maybe to take a look at, because I think too that the water, the way the road is on Knoll, I think the way it cascades, I'm not an engineer, so forgive me. I don't know if it was milled correctly or paved, but it just seems like it just doesn't hit the storm drains that are up above, and it kind of like slides down through. And we have our deck is about, I'd say it's about that high off the ground in the lower end. And our one neighbor saw how much water, and it was parallel to the flooring of our deck, going down past our house, across College Park Drive into another yard.
But that was during this storm.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But there's been times already that even two, but less amounts, it still becomes a concern for us. And we just wanted to bring it to anyone's attention if they could take a look at it. Maybe the storm drains need to be cleaned, because we've noticed too that obviously there's times where there's maybe pine cones and rocks and things like that maybe have obstructed. Plus, we have two manhole covers in our front yard.
Sanitary and storm?
I believe so, yes.
Yes.
And we're afraid maybe something may back up later on. I think we were lucky this time. We got a little bit in, but it wasn't anything severe. And I'm not going to put ourselves in the place of these good folks here, but we're just kind of concerned too that.
You're trying to prevent from getting that.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Because the water literally comes from the University Park Elementary School on Knoll, and then it just comes. In our backyard, I mean, we have really nice.
It comes off the school property?
Pardon?
It comes off the school property.
We seem to think it does, because if you drive up there now, there seems like there's water laying.
Puddles,
like large ones, and it doesn't seem like it just lays there. There's no place. Yes, sir.
Right, right.
Yes, sir.
And then
So-
that water just comes, and we have really nice landscaping, and my stone, and I'm just like this nice lady here. Every time it rains now, I sit there and I run from window to window. Is it coming? Is it coming? What about this? And it just comes. And I've called him many times at work. And I say, you need to come home. I can't do this. I'm there with the sun pump. I'm there with the dry vac. And we have a finished game room, and just like these folks here, up on blocks, clean the carpeting, up on blocks, clean the carpeting, over and over and over and over again. And it really is frustrating, very frustrating.
And we've been here up a number of times we've been at our house for 23 and a half years, and it really didn't start getting bad until Ivan. And it just seems like it's gotten gradually worse.
Is your house French drained?
It's not French drained, but I have pipes everywhere.
I have corrugated, perforated pipes to try to direct it away around the house as best I can. Once again, I think that only goes does so much.
Right.
And maybe some heavy lifting may need to be involved in doing something like to try to solve our problem before it gets any worse.
Well, we're
when we-
certainly actively,
So you're saying even during a moderate rain, the water comes over the wall?
It does.
If it gets
does.
over 2 inches,
We're done.
if we hear, well, the forecast is about 2 to 3 inches, we start holding our breath. Well, 4 inches, that's just impossible.
Well,
So-
I think it's coming from the school. It could end up being the school district's problem.
Okay.
But we don't know that. I'm just
Right.
saying there's a possibility.
Right. Well, we just wanted to bring it to your attention because
Yeah,
we don't know what the
absolutely.
jurisdiction
yeah,
is
no,
there.
we'll be evaluating, and we
Okay.
actively, service and maintain all of these storm drains.
Right.
And, we touched on it earlier, the storm drains, rainwater, that is Monroeville.
Right.
Municipality, sewage,
Mhm.
sanitary lines, that is the municipal authority and the water authority.
Mm-hmm.
But the storm drains, we actively and regularly maintain those and on an ongoing basis, but certainly since July 21st, we've been looking at all of
Right.
these systems.
Right. Yep.
And there's a lot to handle, but
Yes.
we're going
Yes,
through all of them.
sure.
But
We
we
read.
appreciate you bringing that to our attention.
Yes, sir.
Definitely.
Mhm.
And one
Yes,
other
sir.
thing, Mayor, before we're done with our
Well, you
time.
both signed in, so you have two time
Okay.
slots. so-
Okay, great.
You do.
I think I was
Thanks.
exhausted.
Yeah. You're doing all right.
No,
We're
but
at
I
6
just-
minutes.
What is your address there?
We have it here.
405 College Park Drive.
I'm sorry?
405 College Park
I
Drive.
want to make sure we got that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So you were talking about the sewage or the drains. When the water does come down, just as an FYI, I mean, we literally, on our porch, I can see the water flush down past our driveway, and there's a drain here, our next door neighbor, the water comes bing, bang, and then across the street, the water just flies up
Okay.
across the street from
Right.
us.
And then it eventually cascades down to a house on the other side of College Park Drive, and her yard is like a lake.
We told her
We
about the
we
meeting.
told her about the meeting, we could not get in.
But we'll be evaluating that.
Yes, sir.
So,
Okay.
but thank you very much.
Thank you for hearing us out.
Mr. Yugas, how
Thank
many
you.
storm drains are there in Monroeville? Over 3,000, am I right?
Now you're putting me on the spot. They're about 2,500.
Yeah. 4,500, so there's lots.
Yes.
And we just put 4 guys on the MS4 crew.
That's what that crew's starting to do, this storm hit it
I
at
know.
the time, and we just kind of got started on working on
Yep.
that, but just know that we're all aware, and
Sure.
Well, we
we're trying to
appreciate-
do our best.
Almost definitely.
Yep.
We do appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Clayton McDonald.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How you
Clayton.
doing? Clayton McDonald. I'm in a caveat off of Clover Drive. I live there, 252 Clover, third house on the right. I have 2 sump pumps. I'm a pipe layer main line. I do storm, I do water, I do sewer, so I know everything's going on. I understand it. Makes sense to me. I get a lot of water as well, so if that's from them not milling up top, it makes sense to me. But everybody's beating that horse. I'm out of town a lot. I don't get back. I don't get to come to your guys' meetings. But there's a few things that I've noticed on my street. Number one, there's not one street light on that street. Not one. I'm a Marine. I come out, I scan, I leave at 5:30 in the morning. I see her walking to the bus. I got a 16-year-old son, walks to the bus. Can't see. That's number one. Number two, there's a ditch line from the old storm. They did a repair from my house because I had the water problems. The sump was pumping out onto the street. It would freeze. That was my house. I rectified that. I fixed the problem, ran 2 pipes. They actually came out. The municipality helped me out. They tied it in for me, cut in a Y, tied it in. That worked out good. That solved that problem. But the ditch line, I don't know how long it's been done, but it's settled about 2 inches there. So when it rains, it fills up with mud. I track it in my garage. I remodeled my whole garage. I got mud in my house, my driveway. It affects the 2 other houses to my right. The first 2 houses on the left, same ditch line. That's the second thing. The third thing is, like I said, my son walks to the bus in the dark. A lot of people like to pull in right there on off our road, and there's that lot there. Okay, there's syringes down there. Okay, so people are pulling in.
In the vacant lot?
Yeah, the lot, it's a little parking area there There's been syringes found there. That bugs me.
So you're requesting a street light?
Well, at least one every other pole.
Yeah.
There's not one.
Yeah,
So when you
it's
turn
really
off of
different.
Old Haymaker, it's pitch dark. Even though if you got headlights, whatever, it's pitch dark. I haven't seen her several times going to pull out and almost hit her, pulling out from in front of my
I see
house.
ya.
You see me, but I don't see you because it's dark. I'm in my house, or I'm in my car and the lights are on, so it makes everything else dark. And then the last thing I'm gonna touch on, I've always seen a cruiser over on Haymaker. It's sat there for years. I don't know if that's a cop that lives there. There's always been one over there. I always see cruisers at Monroeville Mall just sitting there. I would like maybe to see a cruiser right next to PennDOT there, or have cops actually start patrolling there because that's a speedway. People come off the Parkway, they're doing 60 mile an hour. People coming down from get-go to go to Monroeville, they're doing 60 mile an hour.
Unfortunately, the way Pennsylvania allows municipal police officers to time speed, it's not that easy.
Yeah, I get that, but if
Get the radar bill.
a show of force is there, or something's there,
Yeah,
if
the
there's an extra cruiser,
presence is there, visibility, you're absolutely right.
something, one or two times just sitting there throughout the week, or once a week sitting there, people will slow down. They'll see that, and then they'll start thinking, and more people will start thinking, let's slow down, because it's hard to pull out of there for one. Now, when people fly, and my kid's there, getting on the bus, I'm surprised there's not as many wrecks there as there is.
Yeah.
We can fix that streetlight issue pretty quick.
That
Yeah.
the streetlight issue
That would
should
be
not be a
awesome.
problem at all.
That'd
No
be
one's-
awesome.
We can
Some
get that done pretty
neighborhoods
quickly.
don't want the lights on because they don't like them shining there. Other ones don't tell us that you need them or want them.
I mean, that's
So-
just me. I mean, I come out of my house, I'm doing 5
Oh,
to
the
25
newly
of them in
installed
Iraq.
one's LED.
I'm
Yes.
looking.
I'm sorry?
Are the newly installed ones LED?
Yes.
So that's the newer, brighter you've probably noticed
I
around
think
town.
everybody on the street would like it.
Well,
We can
I
make
don't,
that happen.
we don't,
Yeah,
that's
make
an
that
easy
happen.
That's one of the
fix.
easier
It's dark.
Yeah, that's an
It is
easy,
dark and,
that's the
you know,
easiest fix.
Clayton, do you have any other comments you want to make?
That's it.
Is that all?
I'm good.
Those are great suggestions. We
Thank you.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
Get on it.
Andrew Chuba.
Andrew Chuba, I live on Aurelia Drive.
What street, sir?
Aurelia,
Okay.
not Azalea, Aurelia.
Can you stand over here in front of the
Oh,
microphone
okay.
so that
I signed
everybody
in
can hear
already.
you, please?
Mr. Chuba, I believe you have made some photos. Is that what you wanted to set down?
Oh, yeah, but I don't,
You can just put them on the X, but just talk in
Oh,
this
yeah?
microphone.
oh, okay.
But whenever you want to speak about those, we'll put the camera on them. But
Okay,
for now, we'll
well-
leave the camera on you, and you can speak and
All right.
proceed with your comments.
Well, these people that are making the movie down there in our area, and they're not, well, the first crew that was there a couple years ago, they were good to us. They showed us everything down there and all, and but these people, I don't know, I think they're going to make some changes down there that we didn't expect. Now, after the first, the outsiders were there, they were the first ones. Well, they were supposed to, when they left, all the buildings were supposed to be gone. But they left 2 buildings standing. So then, one is the barn and one is it's a log house. But, I mean, I'll show you the picture here, and
That's perfect.
can you see that?
We'll zoom in on
Now,
it.
this is when there are no leaves on the trees, and I can see
Describe
everything
what we're-
from my kitchen window.
Yep. Can you point at, like, what they left behind?
Well, these are just, I mean, I think I have an understanding. I believe I understand what you're talking about. So this was from that previous filming, The
Yes,
Outsiders. They put structures
right.
back there, and this is on the Kaufman Camp property.
Right, Henry Kaufman Park.
And I believe what they made an arrangement with that Kaufman Park that they kept some of the structures which they use for some of their camps and some of their teen camps and overnight camps that they do there.
Oh, So there's a purpose.
Well, not really. They don't use them because they're not very habitable.
They use them during the day for their day camp. 'Cause that's the camp you're talking about that has they have a lot of activity there during the day.
Well, I'm so close to these buildings that I could hear people's voices that are down there. Anyways, so this is the barn that's down there. And now, the people that are there now, they're from the Pittsburgh area. The other people were from California. And this crew, they're from Pittsburgh. And so they said they would be enclosing the barn. And then they were also going to put in a couple, the assistant site manager, I talked to him, he came up to my house and then he said to me, we're going to put a gate here, we're going to put a gate there, but there is a gate already at the other end for them to come in or leave, and I'm wondering, well, what's going to be in the middle? And so I'm sure it's not going to be a railroad crossing. They've got to have a fence around it. So he didn't explain that, and then
Mr. Chip, what's your like? If you could help us out with what your complaint is, or what your issue is, that maybe we could help.
Okay, now
Andrew, may I? He and I talked on the phone. This is my ward.
So you understand it?
Yes, I do. And it's basically a basic noise, a lot of noise, very early, very late.
He leaves are on the trees, and they're building a large tower down there.
Right.
I can't see what it is. So, and they're going to make some changes, and I think what they want to do, being they're a local company, they're probably going to build a storage facility, because why should they close this barn in where it's been open all this time? And then
Greg, who they?
This is
the company that's
production company.
It's called.
But don't they have permits that they have to?
Well, he asked to see him, and they said, "Well, we can't do that." Like
Lionsgate Entertainment Productions, and I don't know how they got the other people came. I was the only one at the meeting. They came. They showed us pictures, and they had to get the approval of council. But these people just came in and started filming, and the neighbors were never notified. So how can that happen?
Well, that's my question.
Let me suggest this, Mr. Chuba. Perhaps if you could maybe schedule a meeting or even a telephone meeting with Mr. Little, our manager, because we do have contacts with that production company, people that we can call directly, and also at the family park as well. Mm-hmm. We can bring in our permit department as well, and we can kind of get this all hashed out and figure out what's going on, what's happening, and what they plan on doing.
They're cutting metal down there, and I don't know what I'm thinking
they're
going to put a fence around this area and put a couple gates in, and I don't see why they need that. And they're building this tall tower. I can't see how big it is. So the man was there. I said, well, let me ride down with you so we can look at it. I want to see what's going on down there. I can't do that. I said, well, what kind of agreement do you have with the municipality? And he said, I can't show you that. He says, I'm a lawyer. I can't show. I says, this is a park.
That means he's not.
Yeah.
When you say you are,
Would you say, Ron?
That means he's not.
Well, and then he told me this is a park. I said, no, I told him it's a park. You can't do these things in a park. He said, well, it's a piece of property. And I looked on the Allegheny County website, and it's called Henry Kaufman Park, and they don't pay any taxes, all zero. They have 105 acres back there, and they pay zero taxes. And now they're going to make all these changes, and I think I'd like to see them stop working right now because this is going to be an eyesore for my kitchen window if they don't take this tower down. He told me it's some kind of a lookout tower. And I plan to sell my house probably in the next couple years, and this is going to reduce the value of my property when people
Understood.
come.
We understand what you're saying.
Okay.
If you could maybe give us a couple days to make our contacts and call and see, maybe get some answers. We have your phone number that you signed in on, and if
Yes.
myself or Mr. Little, we can call you and set up a time to meet with you
Okay.
and get your answers.
I'm retired. I've been living there 43 years. I'll be 77 in October. And I think these people, they're like, it's like senior citizen bullying, if you ask me.
Oh, we don't need that.
May I, when you do have the meeting, I'd like to be.
Sir, oh yeah, certainly. We'll do some discovery first as far as what's going on. But yeah, if we're going to meet face to face, we'll coordinate with
We'll see what we can do, Andrew.
Absolutely.
As I told you on the phone, we'll take a look.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Salandro.
I like this. It's like couples night.
It's safer with two.
It's quicker this way, too.
Great.
Mr. Mayor, Council, my name's Mark Salandro. This is my wife Janet. We live at 303 Meadow Court. You guys probably know that area is Hangman's Hollow. We've lived there since 1989. I want to make 4 quick points, but first, my heart goes out to all the people who have suffered losses. Our issues kind of pale in comparison to people who've lost homes, property. Thank goodness nobody lost any lives during this last storm. The first point is, before I get into the meat of the other things, I just want to shout out to the Public Works, the garbage men. I think we have the finest garbage men in the country.
Thank you.
Agreed.
Yes.
Thank you. We
Never
do.
get rid of our guys. Never.
We won't.
And
I will fight.
Number 2,
Me too.
Old William Penn Highway, especially near where the Parkway Tavern is and Center Road. I have encountered people from Plum driving on the other side of the road, trying to avoid the road because it's paved very poorly. And that's dangerous. Somebody's going to get hit.
You mean Center Road?
Center Road.
Center Road is being repaved.
I understand that, but they're driving on the other side of the road going 50 miles an hour, and all that they're trying to do is beat the traffic to the Parkway. And I don't think that they should even be allowed to turn left at that hairpin turn. I've seen people get T-boned there.
Yes.
That's dangerous. I wish that we could do something
As
about
far as
that.
Center Road goes, so you're up to date, which I call the Ho Chi Minh Trail right now, because I think it's better shape than that. I was told that, do you remember, you probably do, there was been about 3 contractors there putting in their new lines so the county can come in and mill and pave it and make it the speedway it's gonna be. And the last company that was there was a subcontractor of the municipal authority putting in a new sewer line. And then they came back and they did the tap-ins. And my information told me that the county engineer came out, did not like what he saw and is going to make them redo it. So here we go again. Some people chuckle and say, well, at least it slows people down, but causes them to drive in the other lane.
Right.
And that's worse.
You know.
If they slow down, it's really not that bad.
Center Road's not ours, it's the
No,
county.
I understand. And when you mentioned the county, I just cringed because I saw what they did at John Nat. It took them a year to pave 500 feet.
Well, my hope is that they settle this repair as soon as possible so the county can get it milled and repaved before winter. But I don't have any guarantee on that.
But if there's some way we can,
I kind of agree with you on the left turn.
that's just so dangerous. And all they're trying to do is beat the traffic because you can turn left right before that and it's an easy turn.
I never understood the left turn there because, well, unless you came out of Logan's Ferry or.
Well, that's where we live and I never turn left there.
I know.
You go straight.
But the problem is as you're making that left turn, the people coming up Old William Penn stop, but they don't see the other lane.
There's 2 lanes.
Going straight, and that's when the accidents happen. Unfortunately, we don't have any say in that, just like they were trying to, residents in the past were trying to get either a light or a stop sign at Logan's Ferry.
They said no.
And the county denied it, and they're probably going to deny this.
Actually, we avoid that intersection because it's so dangerous. And
It is.
people are going 50 miles an hour. You can't cross safely. It's dangerous.
Do you have other comments you want to make?
Right.
about-
Number 3, real quickly, like I said, I've lived here 30 years, and I have seen the water at the bottom of Logan's Ferry get worse progressively. It started with the industrial park behind where the municipal garage is. There's a park that was just trees and land. When that went in, it got worse. As time went on, it started to flood at the bottom of Logan's Ferry. Now, 4 inches of rain, I will admit, is a lot, but it is worse now that they've started the housing plan, and their water runoff is happening on dry days. And if they can't control their water on a dry day, how can they control the water during a
I'm
storm?
not being the engineer, just asking the same questions you did.
But,
That's actually Mr. Wilson's ward, but part of the Logan Ferry
Right.
Road's actually mine.
Yeah, it's weird, it's split.
And at the end of the day, we actually hope that that plan helps it because they're putting in 3 detention ponds that'll control the water release. Although I drove down there during this whole thing when I got back in state, and I saw the mud water that you're talking about. So,
It starts at the airport, there's a section there, just mud. If they can't control that, I don't think they should be back there moving any dirt until they can keep the water off of that road. On a dry day,
I don't know how
Plus-
they do that, but
Plus, they're not gonna have this plan done by winter time anyhow.
No.
So that water that's coming down there
Will
is gonna
freeze.
freeze.
and that poor man at the bottom of the
Yeah,
hill
poor
has
man.
had his house, his
Mailbox.
driveway, his mailbox has been wiped out before, and now.
Bottom of Logan's Ferry.
Mr. Pagliano?
Yes.
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 And now with half a lane of ice, it's going to be worse. And
And then they're gonna wanna go over in that lane.
they already do that, the Plum people, but
Yeah.
we're worried about the water. And it just concerns me that they can't handle a dry day. I drove by there, it hadn't rained for a week, and there was still water coming down in those three sections, especially where the runway to the airport is. I see no reason why they can't stop the water from getting on the road right there. I mean, that's at the top of their stuff.
I don't have an answer.
But,
Okay,
you know,
anyhow, 4.
well, that was kind of 3 and 4, the water runoff and, their ability to control it.
I did see it though.
But we have seen it get worse, and I know you can say it was 4 inches of rain, but I would venture to guess that it would not have been bad had that water not added to the mess at the bottom of the hill, because that water goes to the bottom, and then the water from our plan has nowhere to go. And there was a man who got there was a pool that got flooded and a whole house that got flooded because his water had nowhere to go because their water took over. So I would just ask that we keep an eye on them and make sure that they do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, we'll have our inspectors down there. They're down there pretty frequently for other issues, I mean, not issues, but concerns that residents are having. And for the most part, it's my understanding that the builder has been pretty compliant with everything that we are approaching them with. But no, we will definitely have them look at it a
Well,
little more
maybe they're just
closely.
not asking him to fix the things that I'm talking about.
Well, no, this is definitely something that we will definitely look at.
Is there any way to
Absolutely.
keep them, to try to get their drainage to stay on,
Probably more
off the
silt
road?
socks.
They've been continually working towards that. The Conservation District has made several inspections. They have a punch list of items that they need to address. The water is not supposed to be running down Logan's Ferry. They've encountered some mine water that kind of sprouted out and is giving them some difficulties.
So they've been addressed or presented with that situation?
Correct, and they have a long-term plan to take care of that water.
They have a short-term.
Yeah,
plan. They can-
long-term is fine, but for the people that are at the bottom, I mean, with this storm that we just had, my neighbor was the one who had to be rescued from on top of her car. She's a 25-year-old girl. And the EMS, everybody who came and helped her and stuff, she had to sit on top of her car for 2 hours.
No, negative.
No, that's what they said.
Who said?
I don't know what they said, but I got the information from the dispatch center. 1 hour and 5 minutes, she was in the ambulance.
Okay, even so, an hour on top of your car.
Well, no, that was an hour from the time of the dispatch till she was out of the water and in the ambulance.
Okay, I don't know. I'm just
But
going by what people
thankfully
tell me,
she-
but
thankfully
anyhow,
she was
that's
not
a
injured.
very scary thing. It's right
Absolutely.
at the end of our plan. I mean, if it wasn't a young girl that was able to get out and get on top of her roof, Who knows what would have
That's why
happened?
we always say, we try to tell people, don't drive through
Right.
standing water.
In 30 years,
so
we have,
dark
we
down
have,
I
there,
know
we have
that,
never
and just
seen
like
the
we
water
said, lock your
approach
cars.
that
These,
quickly.
We already have an order in for lights at
We had a
that
meeting
intersection.
about that. Not only going to put up warning signs about the signs, but we're going to put up a street light, and we're going to make the guardrail longer.
That's
That-
good,
that'll
that's
help.
good. I'm glad that
That'll
you're
help.
doing something
And
about it.
with all due respect about the plan that this builder has, I hear their machines at 7 o'clock, they start, you can hear the beeping, we're close enough.
I don't know what their
And I've
permits
never
say.
seen a machine work on the water. They're in the back, working on their roads, in their house, in their lot. They should be digging where the water is first, so.
We're to look at it a little more closely,
I think
absolutely.
we need to keep an eye on them.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John Holman, I'm sorry.
My name's John Holman. I'm part of the Clover clan.
Welcome, John.
You'll have to bear with me. I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, but I was kind of voluntold by my commanding officer / wife.
We all have one.
Just follow an order, sir.
And I agree with her.
Well, then we're okay with it.
Yeah.
Well, then, I'm overruled. We're here to support our neighbors. To kind of put this in perspective, I was around the world when I was in the Army. Lived in a bunch of different communities, and a lot of them, it's just a place to live. I came here 9 years ago or so. It's not a place to live, it's a family. And Monroeville, by extension, is a great town. I like it a lot. My belly likes the restaurants. One of the issues that I'm seeing is the family here. It's happening not just from heavy rains. It's moderate rainstorms, and they're getting flooded. You have water coming down from the top from that road. Then you have the drains in the middle that aren't working. You have a ditch, a gully that's somehow, I guess, where the spring is, it's not working. The drains on the road can't handle it. And then at the bottom of the road behind us, you have the drain that I think is the state's. And that's one of the worst ones because you have 10 to 12 feet of standing water there after a rainstorm. My concern, which I don't think anybody has considered yet, is from our property, which is not even close to that area, we're getting water underneath the ground. You can stand for a day after the storm and there's water there, so the water's not draining properly. If you have water, standing water on clay, you get sinkholes. One of the concerns where the water was coming up on the actual property, there's a home for the handicapped. Needless to say, there'd be really terrible headlines if a sinkhole swallows a handicapped home. Just very bad. Like I said, we're here because we have families being affected. And I know you have a lot of work to do because of the rain, because of the problems. But what we're seeing on this street, it seems to be getting worse. It's not just a big rainstorm. Something's wrong and it needs to be addressed. So if you could possibly find a way to move it up, that'd be great.
We're definitely going to evaluate it more closely.
And I don't want to beat this dead horse because
No, we appreciate your comments.
it's really important.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will tell you this, shy of talking to that gentleman back there in the back of the room, I didn't know up until this rain that that problem still exists. Shy of talking to
storm
him.
drain?
Yes.
It's been months.
Mr.
He's been
McDonald's
reporting it. I called the governor's office.
No, that was the wrong thing.
And I apologize about reading the handwriting here. We got one more on this list. Is it Alexis?
That's me, that's
Okay.
Graham.
Is it Graham?
Graham, Graham. House, I live at 40.
I got all that, yep.
Okay, well, I'm gonna say it anyway.
Go ahead, yep, you're-
4042 Logan Ferry Road, and I've got a picture on the X. And I was gonna read my email that I sent you, Mr. Mayor, but I'm only gonna read a portion of it because I want to take a minute to say something. First of all, you've got a big problem going on over there. You know what I mean? Some of you folks say you don't know where that water was coming from.
Hon, you
That
have
was
to
coming
just-
from my
you have
yard.
to- hon, you-
That's
Alexis,
where it came
Alexis,
from.
you have
It
to-
came
you have
from
to
my
address us.
yard. It came from the culvert on Center Avenue, that if you go over there and look at it now, is completely covered over again with rocks and sticks and mud. And we've only had a little bit of rain since we had the big rain. I have pictures of that thing being totally filled in from that big rainstorm.
And the
We have
crazy
been
thing,
talking
get
to
to
you
the-
guys,
Let's let her
yes,
get- let's let her
we
get-
have been talking to you guys since 2009 about water on our property. Get water damage on our property. We've spoken to the mayor, we've spoken to Mr. Gentleman's over here, Oh, Mr. Sedlak, I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce your name, but, you know, then you say to people, well, you know, you can take out a loan. So we take out a loan, what happens the next time it's raining? What do? Take out another loan? What are we supposed to do, spend my grandkids' college money so we can fix our house again? This is my driveway. Can we take a picture of my driveway? This is serious.
What part of Logan's Ferry?
20, right after you turn off Center. It's
Okay.
very first house on the
I
right.
know the house now.
So the only part I'm going to read to you out of this email, I'm really upset about this.
Understood.
And some of these people have been like apologetic coming up here to talk to you. You know what? We need help over there. We need your help. We need you to call us back. We need you to put on your website what the heck you're doing. And we need you to look us in the eye, too. You know, I've been watching people, everybody's looking down. You know, we're your freaking constituents. The damage that resulted from the runoff and the borough's negligence in addressing the inadequate drainage has resulted in my son, his wife, and 3 daughters being no longer able to reside in their home. The asphalt driveway is totally destroyed, rutted to a depth of 12 inches from the sheer force of the water runoff on our street. We estimate the cost to fix that driveway, the estimate we got was between $15,000 and $20,000. From 4 freaking inches of rain. Your system can't handle 4 inches of rain. The crawl space under the house is full of water. All the insulation, all the subfloors, all the floors have to be replaced. The walls have to be replaced. The ductwork, maybe it can be cleaned. All the mold has to be remediated. What the hell are we supposed to do now? We're going to lose that house is what's going to happen. It's not funny. And it's not cute. It's a freaking serious problem. You know, the house was supposed to be an investment for my family. It was going to pay for my grandkids to go to college. We're screwed. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's all I have on this list in front of me. If anyone would like to address council, now would be your time to approach. Sir, if you could come up. And I'll give everybody ample time to have an opportunity to speak. And is there, by chance, is anyone signed in on that sheet in front of you? You just did?
Yeah,
Okay.
already up there.
We're good? We got,
So can you sign under?
is anyone else there? Or is that the only, there's an empty spot there?
There's an empty spot
Can
there.
you just sign your
yeah.
name and you can state your name for the record, please, sir?
Okay. My name is Ross Magro. I live at 1458 Abers Creek Road. I'm the first house on the left when you turn off of Northern Pike. During the flooding on July 21st, we lost complete access to our property. A log jam got washed down from north, Plum Borough. All the trees that have been laying in the creek for who knows how long come down, totaled our bridge, and completely destroyed our driveway. Our cars are trapped. I'm self-employed. I am a contractor, licensed contractor. My vehicle's trapped. All right. The only way I've been able to keep things going is by borrowing my dad's truck. What I'm asking for tonight, I had met with the DEP. He had told me that rebuilding the bridge is unfeasible. To go by the current standards of 100-year floodplain, that would be a 140-foot long bridge. Okay? That would be more than what my property is worth to put in. All right? The top side of my property is close to bordering Alpine Village Road. There is a lot, it's 1108-C223, which is Monroeville property. It's currently being unused. what I'm here tonight to ask is if I could get the wheels in motion for a right-of-way to cut a new driveway for my property so I can have access to my house again.
We have discussed that. We just discussed that just a couple days ago.
Okay.
Everybody's good.
We've agreed that we're going to do that. We're going
Thank
to do
God.
whatever we can do to get you access to your property.
What we
Thank
need
you
to
very
do
much.
is maybe set up a time for you to come into the municipality, and we can meet with Mr. Little or myself,
We're all good.
Okay,
and we
Yeah,
can kind of
everyone's
get the
on
ball
board.
rolling like you said,
Yeah, we're all
We're all
okay.
good.
with our
Okay.
engineering department as well.
that's good.
So we'll coordinate all of that. If you could please write your phone number down.
Yes.
You got, if it's there.
Another thing that I have to bring up, which I know there's a long list of inlets that are giving you guys problems. All right, but there is an inlet across the driveway from what we have left to park a vehicle in right now that comes down from the temple. They had logged last year, and since they have done that, that drain clogs every other time it rains, if not every time it rains, and blows out mud and debris all over the road, not only destroying my driveway, but dumping mud into my neighbor's yard and damaging their property as well. When I still had a bridge, I was able to try to help, but at this point, I can't do anything, okay? So that's something, I mean, that inlet that I'm speaking about, it's been clogged since July 21st. It's
We'll have
been
it-
a
we'll
while.
have it looked at.
Okay, so I would appreciate if you guys looked at that too. I mean,
Thanks for bringing it to our attention.
no problem. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. We'll be in touch.
Thanks.
One moment. You had a comment? You can approach council. I'll go next. After her.
Hi, my name's Marie Bainbridge, and I live at 348 Woodhaven Drive, and I was the first house that got all the water. And in my backyard, there's a big gully that they filled in. When I first moved, there was like an actual hole there in the wall, in the ground. And they put a big pipe in, and they filled it all in, and we have the sewer drains and all that stuff in the back. But with the rains that have been coming, and for the last couple years, we've got more and more water in the back. And I don't know whether it's the sewer that needs cleaned out or what's going on back there, but literally it was a river. The lady that was just in tears, it hit her house first, and then it literally was a river all the way down the yards. The other neighbor that we have, he had like a shed in the backyard. It actually moved his shed to the middle of his yard. And everyone from my house down, including my house, got flooded. You know, the sewer's backed up, and it was just, I've never seen water that fast go down there. So whatever's going on in that area, they have to do something. They either have to clean out the sewer system or whatever is back there, because it is horrendous, and it's not taking any water for us to get that much water. And my yard also is a swamp, and it has never been as bad as it is now, and it gets progressively worse every year. So like my house got hit, and I lost like everything in my basement. And then next door, they didn't get as much rain, as much water, I think, because they're back a little further. But from there on, the next four, including Justin's house, they're destroyed. And it's all because someone's not looking at that water situation in the back there.
Well, I agree that there probably should be checked or changed or improved, but not many sewer systems were gonna handle that amount of rain in that short period of time.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I don't know any that would.
Well, I can understand that, but I just think that there must be something wrong with that piping or something underneath there that it doesn't even handle normal rain anymore.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That rain was exceptional, and that's why the yard looked like a flood. It literally looked like a raging river in the backyard. It was almost up to my property.
You're on Woodhaven too, huh?
Yeah, we all live right by each other.
If you could just write your name down on that sheet in front of you and your address, that way we have it for the record.
Yeah, and I can't believe that the federal government, we can't get the federal money to help these people that lost everything, you know? I mean, I felt like I was lucky compared to everyone else. I'm probably only at 10,000. They're out like thousands of dollars.
It's still a lot of money.
It's a lot of money when you don't have it.
It's a lot of money when you do have it.
Yeah. So, and I don't know where I'm getting 10,000 to fix it. I have French drains too around my house, and it just didn't help.
Well, it wasn't gonna handle that.
No, I don't think my dad's sump pump burned out trying to carry that water, just burned out.
Yeah.
And he
so-
lives on Upper Woodhaven.
Yeah, so I don't know, I'm waiting for restoration people to come in now to give me an idea. I tore the basement apart, all my rugs and my walls and everything's out, but
Yeah.
I don't know, find out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You could just sign in there, and
Hello, my name's Terry Krentz. I own 3 parcels of property, about 5 acres along Abers Creek Road. And I am the first 2 houses past Ross's Bridge that goes into, once you turn on to Abers Creek Road. And I'm here today to just seek clarity. I know we live in a floodplain. I know we made the decision to buy the property. It's beautiful on a sunny day. And in the last 8 years, the storm from the 21st caused the worst damage that we've seen. To the culvert issue that Ross mentioned, that was addressed several years ago directly. My husband and I went up to talk to Raghu about the issue. It's his property. On last Friday, when it rained again, I have pictures, I posted it on the page, the police page, Monroeville wouldn't put it on their page, but I walked up and spoke to the owners in the morning, and they came down and cleaned it up. But to Ross's point, it can't hold the capacity. When I spoke to them, trying to be a good neighbor, and they have been reasonable about it, but I had to ask them to clean it up. There was debris on the road for a couple of days, and I know the road's closed, but Ross is getting to his driveway and walking across to get to his home. We still can get to our driveway. Some of the people are scooty-bootying through that pathway because they live in Monroeville and they know where it goes, but there's still debris further down from our house. So the culvert's an issue. They're claiming it's the runoff from the Turnpike Gardens, and it's the culmination of things. So the last thing I'll say on that before I go on to one other thing, please, is that they got approval somehow. We worked with Paul, we worked with Jamie. We have been talking to you guys since we bought the first property. And they somehow got approved to do this logging. And last year, the corner bend of our property is now 1 lane. It still hasn't had any attention. We realize that. Quite honestly, my husband and I like it because there's less traffic, because of the cut-through that it is, but that still hasn't had any attention. I totally understand the circumstances that everybody is going through, but there are some significant issues that need to be addressed. So they continue to log. The land cannot hold the water, so even if the facilities and the storm pipe and the drain-off was working, the land is being and the land can't hold the capacity. We've talked to the Conservation District too. The other piece of it is, so that we know is an issue. I don't know, should we be suing our neighbors to address the issue? Is there truth behind that the municipality is going into their, is there truth to what they're saying? So that's an ongoing issue anytime it rains.
Excuse me, I wasn't clear what you were saying about the municipality. What was that?
Well, the temple is claiming that it's the sewage or the sewer lines or the pipes from Turnpike Gardens come into their property, and their property can't handle it, and that's what's clogging up their drain. I'm just saying what they told me. I don't know that there's truth to it, and I'm not an engineer. But
that's the first time hearing that, but.
Yeah.
Well, that's
No,
what.
we appreciate
That's
yeah.
okay. It's Raghu's wife, and I can't say her name. I'm sorry. I don't know how to pronounce
No
it.
problem.
So we did went up, they cleaned it, but it's every time it rains, there's runoff on the stream. The entrance to Ross's Bridge gets washed away. It washes into my first property. Water sits in the yard, it seeps into the basement. I'm hearing all the talk. I'm not an engineer. Is a French drain what I need to do? So part of my request is being in that capacity and being a citizen and being along the streamway that's one of the vital connections to Turtle Creek. Can anybody give us advice on, should we waste $5,000 on a French drain if that's not going to be the solution? Is there any kind of resource? We're on that stream that's a feeder. The other piece to that is, with what Ross described, there are still huge trees in the stream. Those are just waiting for the next rainstorm to come. Part of his bridge that's still collapsed is hanging there. So as the water rises, everything's going to back up, and that's likely why we were flooded to the road. So I lost 9 vehicles, only 4 of which were fully insured. 9 vehicles. So 5 of them are totally totaled with no recon because we only have liability on them because they're older, but still. Both basements flooded almost to the first floor. Lost the steps off one of the porch on my second house where our son lives. So it was a pretty scary situation. We didn't have to get rescued, but they were ready to take us away. Is there any kind of resources or help? It's a downstream effect from Plum coming into our municipality. Our trees have been there for the last year.
We just also had that discussion the other day about the
Mr. Mayor,
trees.
may I?
We did talk about
Yeah,
it.
well, Mr. Johns, if we'll let, you can finish your comment.
Well, that's
but
all
I-
right. We,
I had some
we just had that discussion along with everything else, and we're in the process of coming up with a way to talk to some of the folks to utilize their property to get in there and remove some of this debris that's in the stream for future rain, because we don't want to try to stop it from happening all over again.
And the challenging part is that the waters of no one owns the waterways. They're waters of the Commonwealth, so the DEP regulates them. But if there are some things that we could maybe do if we have access to it through our property, through residents' properties that we can get permission for. But we're definitely exploring that. Now, in your case, in Ross's case, being that area, we could definitely have staff come down and look at things and talk to you a little more closely about.
Okay, well, we've talked to the emergency services folks, and I called the conservation district, and they came out 2 Fridays ago, and they walked the property with us, and they told us the options that are there. So now it's just a wait and see, and that's fine. So we're still in the process. If anybody drives there, it looks trashy. There's trashier than the 9, or there's actually 12 vehicles there before the 9 were lost, or 13, but that's neither here nor there. That there's debris strewn through our field and our acreage. Some of it's ours, some of it's not. We're still emptying out our basement and trying to get the mud out of both homes. So there's a lot of impact to that. So that's our problem, we're homeowners. But that stream feeds into the Turtle Creek. And that's the plea to you all, as a citizen of Monroeville, you are too. It's a bigger impact to the community as well as us. So we're just hopeful that there's some additional resources that can help with that.
Well, Terry, do you have any other comments at this point? Just make sure you're good for now? Okay.
Did you sign it? Just for everybody, you all know that I'm on the ALOM board as well as the Boroughs Association. There's a meeting next Thursday just on this issue. I'm meeting with Plum Mayor. Obviously, our mayor will be there, as well as Penn Hills, and we're going to construct a letter from my office, from the county to the governor's office, asking permission if we can dredge Plum Creek as well as Aber Creek. Not real positive they'll give it that, but we're going to give it hell as much as we can. That's next Thursday. In September, we'll make another report. I'll give you another report on that, or the mayor can. But we're trying.
Can I just mention something about that, since he said that? That's great if that could work. In speaking with the Conservation District, they had offered other alternatives too. They had just expressed some other things. I've heard the fire chief talk, and I know there are many opinions. I'm not an engineer by trade, so I don't understand all the complexities there. But if there are other alternatives, we're open in our property line to consider. We're pretty close to the stream, so we don't want to lose too much, but there are places that can work, and that may be a better solution from what they explained and what I understood from a maintenance standpoint and the fees to maintain a dredge stream.
Well, talking to the mayor of Plum, apparently Plum Creek, he told me it is so filled with trees and other debris, and that backs all the way down into us, and then that goes on further on down.
Yeah, that's my backyard.
Yeah, well, obviously. So the point being is that we're really trying.
Right, understood, and that's exactly what the fire chief said.
And again, I'll give you, I'll even post it on our website if that's okay.
Certainly, absolutely, yeah.
On what we can come up with, so.
Is that something that you're asking us to come to, or you're just?
No.
There's
This is a
another
meeting we're
that's
gonna have
happening
to
regarding
present to the
topic?
governor. And we're
Okay.
they have a chief of staff or a staff member out this way we're hoping to meet with.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I add one more thing unrelated to the flooding? I own a business on Old William Penn Highway by Center Avenue where it hits. And I heard you say the county owns that road. So is there, it's the traffic on those bumps that is causing damage to cars. I watch accidents happen probably weekly in front of there. How do we get a stop sign either across from the bar?
They said no.
How about a yield sign? Who said
What
no, the
happened?
county?
County.
Okay,
It's
that's a
theirs.
county
We
thing?
Put in those requests and they've denied us.
Okay. I just never knew that history.
Yeah,
Everybody
they
talks
tried
about
for
it, so I was
lights,
curious.
stop signs, any kind of something, and the county says no.
They did not, they wouldn't even
Crazy.
let us put crosswalks across when the
Yeah.
Rivertown was open.
Yeah, it's crazy. Somebody's going to get killed.
Yeah.
But thank
agreed.
you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we need to take a 5-minute recess for our stenographer to change out her paper. So we're going to take a 5-minute recess,
Get her
and we'll,
fingers off.
and we'll continue
Yeah.
our
Oil 'em up.
meeting. Thank you. calling this meeting out of recess. We had to take a break. We still have our public comment period on any any municipal item. It's our citizens' night. Is there anyone left that would like to comment on any municipal item? We're going to close that part of the meeting. Council, if we look at your agenda, we are going to move over to our active transportation plan public hearing. I'm going to call up Elaine Kramer. Elaine Kramer is our consultant from the planning firm Paschik MTR to discuss our active transportation plan. This is a plan that has been in the works for quite some time. This originated from the joint comprehensive plan with Wilkins and Wilkins Township, Churchill, and Monroeville. And this is the public hearing for that. It's a comprehensive document, but Elaine's going to speak about it a little bit more in depth. This is going to be considered for council to approve it at the next month's meeting, at the September meeting. And this is a public hearing. And Elaine, like I said, I didn't prep you for this, but since it is a public hearing, I'm going to swear you in. And if there's anyone else that maybe would speak about this item, they could be sworn in as well. And also, if you decide later that you're going to speak, we can swear you in at that point. So if you change your mind during the presentation, we can certainly take care of that. So Elaine, if you could raise your right hand, please. We tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God.
I do.
Thank you. Now, Elaine, welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. And let me also add my thanks to Mr. Little and Mr. Wielden. Mr. Eastock isn't here, but he also helped. And I'd also like to thank our one active transportation committee member, Alan Eastock, who has attended. I'm here to present to citizens and to the council the final draft. It's a draft of the active transportation plan that we developed. This was funded by the municipality as well as the Redevelopment Authority of Allegheny County in partnership with the Richard King Mellon Foundation and Allegheny County Health Department. Active transportation is, as you can read here, any way of going from place to place by human power. Wheelchairs, bikes, scooters, walking, jogging. Transit is often included in that because people frequently bike or walk for the last mile of their transit trip. It's important for people who don't own vehicles and important for people who own them but choose not to use them in any given time. Let me find the next. Where's the down arrow? Here it is. A plan, an active transportation plan, you may recall from my visit here back in October. It includes physical routes that are planned according to standards. They're developed and implemented according to national standards. The American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials has a guide. The National Association of City Transportation Officials have a guide. Pennsylvania, PennDOT's Department of Conservation and Natural Resources has a trail design guide. So there's a lot of guidance and standards that we and this plan meet. The plan also includes policies that are adopted by the community and education to support safety, comfort, and convenience. Studies show those three factors are the most important in encouraging people to engage in active transportation, especially in a car-oriented community like Monroeville. It's really important. And so, speaking of Monroeville, why now? As Mayor Griesbach mentioned, part of this arose from the Churchill-Monroeville-Wilkins Comprehensive Plan, which Council adopted in 2018. I think it was 2018. Citizens really sought more means to walk safely and comfortably through the community and to cycle in the community, have easier access to transit. And so we tried to respond to that, and one response was indeed to create this active transportation plan to go into more detail. Similarly, PennDOT and Allegheny County Transportation are both putting a lot more emphasis over time on active transportation. They're integrating walking and biking routes, multimodal routes in almost all the planning and work that they do. So it is considered a best practice, and so I give kudos to Monroeville for keeping up with that. It's also a wonderful, wonderful way to satisfy existing residents who want walking routes. You see how popular the Westmoreland Heritage Trail is. You know that people love the walking routes in Community Park. You see people walking on places where they shouldn't as well, though. You know, beating paths along Route 22 because they need to get to the grocery. So people need and want to walk. They want to be able to get to the hospitals, get services, go to stores and shops. So it's a wonderful way to satisfy existing residents, but also to attract younger, new residents, because you probably know, as well as I do, if you have children the age of mine that in their 20s, 30s, they really prefer to not own cars a lot of times. They want to be able to walk and bike and live and enjoy life all from the same place. So they really enjoy active transportation. Hold fitness is a very high priority. So walkability and bikeability is something that younger people are indeed looking for. When we started this active transportation planning process, we did a survey in the community. We put out a questionnaire in the community. We got 460 responses. We asked all kinds of things about why people walk, where they want to go. It helped us develop our plan. But for the purposes of this meeting, I thought I'd just bring this one slide that shows that if conditions were improved, people would be more interested in active transportation. 75% of the respondents said they would walk more if conditions were improved, and 68% said they would bike more if conditions were improved. And by that we mean just a safer, more comfortable route for people. So that was a good impetus for us to continue developing the plan. And here is how we developed the plan. I know you have the summary with you. The document is also certainly available, the full document. I hope you get a chance to look through it. But these are the ways that our Active Transportation Committee of citizens and staff members developed the plan. We did that digital survey. Mr. Little and some others were out on Community Day asking people what they wanted to see happen. We held public meetings. We did key person interviews. Research best practices, did a lot of data mapping, field work. I really, my heart goes out to so many of the residents who were speaking tonight. I've driven and walked through many of the roads they were talking about, and I can, been through the community, and I just can picture some of the places they were speaking about. We had a workshop here that involved people from the Port Authority, PennDOT, Allegheny County Transportation, Southwestern Pennsylvania Commission, the Metropolitan Planning Organization, and many cyclists and citizen advocates for both cycling and walking who attended a workshop in this room. We bounced ideas off of them. They told us what they thought would improve the plan. We've incorporated their thinking into this. We being the steering committee down at the bottom right. That's when it went into the plan. These are the topics and the kinds of physical projects we're envisioning. Over time, a network. We'd love to see additional sidewalks, especially closing gaps, where that a sidewalk stops here and starts up there. Intersection improvements, again, to make pedestrian activity a little safer, a lot safer. Transit-related improvements, we have some suggestions working with the Port Authority for specific bus stops that could be improved without a whole lot of money and effort going into it, and it would make transit ridership much easier and more convenient for more people. Bike lanes and shared lanes, you know, shared lanes are those sharrows, you know, where you have the bike image on the pavement. Bike lanes are actually separated off to the side. Side paths are when there's actually, you have your two travel lanes and then a path off to the side for biking and walking. And then you know what hiking and mountain biking trails are as well. We are suggesting pursuing the vision plan map. An earlier draft has been posted out in the lobby for a long time. I have this one is actually in my car. I didn't want to bring it in the drizzle, but I can bring it in before I go, and you can have it in your lobby so people can look at the newer one. And what's next is, especially for me, to thank you. Thank you for your interest in this. Thank you for selecting our firm to work on this project, and thank you for investing in this project. I think it'll give you a lot of good ideas about how you can further develop these kinds of amenities in your community. As you review it, if you see things that you would like to see clarified, please let me know. I think Mr. Little or Mr. Wielden would be happy to pass those along to me. And let me ask you to please consider adopting this plan in September when it comes up for a vote.
Great. Thank you, Elaine. Council, does anyone have any questions for Elaine? Is there anyone from the public that would like to comment on this item? Okay, so we're going to close the public hearing for that. And I would like to first and foremost, thank Elaine with all of this. She's really done a tremendous job, and her firm, John Burkle as well, done a tremendous job with this plan. And she's definitely, I think, it's safe to say that she is the non-resident that knows our streets and sidewalks the best. She could probably deliver pizzas anywhere in Monroeville. But we really appreciate all your hard work on this plan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
It's an excellent plan, and it's something that Council's going to consider in September. Once again, as she touched on, these are things where we make improvements where it makes sense. Nowhere in the plan we always get this comment, that it says that we're going to put bike lanes on Business 22. People think that is not the case. This is just where it makes sense, and to make this community more walking friendly, bike friendly, and transit friendly. And it really adds to the quality of life of our community. So once again, thank you so much. And I also want to thank our steering committee. We do have a representative here, Alan Izok, also Gordon Kahn, and Craig Causa, along with myself, Mr. Little, Mr. Wield, and Mr. Estock. So big thanks to the steering committee and to get this plan off the ground. And council will consider it at our September meeting. So thank you, Elaine.
Thank you very much.
Thank
you, Council.
Council, we're going to move over to our show cause hearing. 2509 Monroeville Boulevard, lot and block number 639L178. We have Mr. Sonnefeld here, our staff.
Ed Jason.
Mm-hmm. And this is, once again, another public hearing item. If, Mr. Sonnefeld, in a moment, I'll be swearing you in. If there's anyone else in the audience that will be discussing this matter or commenting on this matter, I'll swear you in as well.
How you doing?
Thank you.
Start at the right end. Sir, what we'll do in a moment is you can stay standing there for a second. I'll swear you in, and then you can just have a seat in that first chair once we're done. But just keep standing there for a second.
You need one for now? You can get that one.
Gentlemen, if you would, briefly here, if you could raise your right hand, both of you, and you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you. So, sir, you can have a seat, and then Mr. Sonnefeld will make the presentation.
Council, this is the show cause hearing for a property on Monroeville Boulevard, 2509 Monroeville Boulevard, it's Allegheny County, lot and block number 639L178. The owner on record is Leroy Romig, who's owned the property since roughly December 3rd, 1998. Some of you may be familiar with this property. It's located on Monroeville Boulevard across from Alston Mall and Orchard Alley, right below the fire department, and the hair salon that's there. This house has been in a state of disrepair for quite some time due to some damage to the roof structure. As you can see here in the photos, these were taken off of Google Earth. We have some of our own that we've added into this. The red circle highlights the areas in the valley of the roof that has the most amount of damage. These are ones that were taken today. It shows the increased damage on this. You can see the exposed rafters, the exposed attic space, the sheathing is missing, missing shingles. So there's quite a bit of damage to this roof that's been kind of taking a beating over the years. It's not gotten any better. We have been working with Mr. Romig for quite some time, going to the local magistrate, trying to get these things rectified. There's been multiple attempts to get him funding through different sources, and things just haven't been able to work out for him. Here's a couple more photos we've taken. This photo to the right with the tree, there's actually a neighboring property that is still occupied, that is right there next to him. So not only is this causing a problem for himself, but also to his neighboring properties in the municipality. We're afraid that due to a lot of these rainstorms, snow, any type of precipitation, wind, anything, that the structure of this roof is weakened enough that it's going to cause some significant problems if we don't take care of it quickly. Here's another close-up of it. You can see the red arrow. This is directly looking from across Monroeville Boulevard in front of the salon. This was taken today. In front of you have the memorandum. It has some bullet points on it, and some of the ones we'll touch through this. The residence is currently occupied by Mr. Romig. Both adjoining properties are occupied. We've been dealing with this since roughly 2012. I have a lot of documentation from back then through multiple building inspectors and code enforcement officers that have been dealing with this. Everything is basically the roof structure damage. We've been going to the local magistrate, Magistrate Herbst, since 2012. Finally, May 23rd of 2019, Mr. Romig was fined by the magistrate for $500. After that, June 4th, myself and another inspector, Tim Dayton, we posted the building for unsafe and to vacate, and then other documentation for this. The legal advertisement was put out in the newspaper. Everything was mailed to Mr. Romig, certified mail, regular mail, and also posted on his property, the show cause notification, and then obviously tonight's hearing. So I can try to answer any questions anybody has.
Are we also maintaining the property as far as getting the grass cut and all?
No, he maintains that himself. We haven't done any grass cutting or anything like that for, not that I have been able to find, or any
Someone
things
living
the
in that
past.
property, Jason?
Yes, Mr. Romig, the gentleman behind me, is still residing there. He does have all the utilities still on. I checked and verified that today with the Water Authority, gas and electric.
That roof's open all the way inside the house, right?
Correct,
So
yeah.
all
You
this
can
rain-
see,
It's open into the attic portion, yeah.
With all this rain though, aren't you getting flooded inside your house?
Well, if we hold that thought for 1 second, does anyone, we'll ask all these questions. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Sonnenfeld based on what he just presented just now?
do you want me to go back to any pictures or anything?
No, I
or-
understand that.
And then, because then I'm sure Mr. Roaming, he's probably going to present.
Okay.
We can ask him at that point these questions as well.
Mayor,
Mr.
I have
Ratchford,
a
go.
comment. I would like, on behalf of the municipality, to have the full file incorporated into the record, if you could note that for the purposes of the record, which would include the activity from 2012 up until present.
Okay, yeah, we have
Yeah.
all the documentation here.
Thank you. We'll make that part of the record. That's it. Go ahead.
Anyone for what Mr. Sonnenfeld just said? Anybody have questions right now at this point? Mr. Roaming, is there anything you would like to put into the record?
Come on up, sir.
And if you could stand in front of that podium there. And you've already been sworn in, but if there's anything you would like to add, you can, you don't have to.
As Mr. Sonnenfeld pointed out, it's a problem that's been going on for a long time.
since actually the end of 2012. At that time, I was actively contacting roofing companies for estimates to fix the roof. It wasn't that bad at that point. It had opened up a hole in the valley, and at that point, I had enough funds to have it done and everything. And at that point, I was maintaining the roof myself. I had put up a ladder on the roof, and I was actively going up there and replacing shingles. I replaced flashing. I did caulking and crack filling, anything I could do to maintain it. That was when I got the first citation about me working on the roof and having a ladder on the roof. They eventually forced me to take the ladder down, which that's the only access to go up onto the roof. And from that point on, it was pretty much impossible for me to maintain it. I ended up losing my job in large part by responding to the citations. When I took a day off of work, they told me that it wasn't acceptable at that time. This goes into problems with the business that I work for. But when I told them I had to go back, I was permanently laid off. Worked there for 16 years, lost my job for that. Also lost my health insurance at the same time. After that, while looking for, going on job interviews, I got seriously injured at that point. No longer had health insurance and couldn't work. It was quite a long time before I recovered, and I had to use my savings, all of my savings, just to survive. It was until 2016, beginning of 2016, that I was recovered from my injuries and began looking for another job. My savings were depleted. Didn't really have money at that point to have the roof done. I began saving money at my new job for a roofing fund. But at that time, Mr. Sonnenfeld filed new charges about the roof, and also about a car that I had in the driveway that I was planning on selling to raise funds. I know you don't really, care that much about my personal story, but in the last 3 years, I've been in and out of hospitals. Had 3 operations, and right now I've not yet been released to go back to work yet. So my funds have been severely limited. There's not much I can do. I have continued contacting roofers. Thought I found a few that would do the work with the finance plan. That hasn't worked out because they pretty much want blank checks to work on the roof. They're not sure what they are going to run into. I have continued trying to get help to do this. This is really the only home I've ever lived in. You know, I've been in Monroeville for, well over 50 years. I don't really want to leave the home because I really have nowhere to go right now. I've tried to get somebody to fix the roof. I've called lots of roofers this year, and I'm getting the same story from all of them. They're all far behind because of the bad weather that we've had this year and last year. So nobody would guarantee me that they will do the job this year. The closest I found is a guy, a roofer in Turtle Creek. He said he might be able to do it in early October, if we don't get any more of these horrendous flooding storms. Now, I don't know. I can't predict the future. I don't know whether he can do it or whether I can still find somebody else to do it. But I'm, until the very end, I'm going to try.
Do you have any documentation from that roofer that you would like to submit?
I did.
Yeah, I don't have it with me. I didn't bring it with me. I can.
Can I ask a question? I'm
if
just
you
curious.
want to.
I feel bad for your health. I really do. I mean that sincerely. You mean to tell me you've been living in that home all these years with that gaping hole?
Oh no, it wasn't. It wasn't like that.
It wasn't?
I mean, it was pretty.
But any hole in the roof, you have to have. I'm a guy that's done a lot of work in my lifetime. You have to have water coming in there. You have to.
I've had during this rain.
Where does all the water go inside?
I have a large plastic tubs and basins, and I've also been able to divert the water off the roof too. So it's not really as bad as you might think or anything.
Well, from what I saw in the pictures, it looks pretty bad. And it looks like it's getting worse.
Mr. Sonnenfeld, have you seen the interior of the home to know if it's structurally sound?
No, I wouldn't be able to tell that as far as not being an engineer, design professional, for being the structural integrity of the house. But I could only imagine what the walls and the structure are like throughout the house.
Well, that's why I'm asking. I mean, if he had the roof fixed, what's the rest of the property?
That's probably why he's having trouble with the roofers, because they're not sure what they're going to.
My goodness.
Kind of like any contractor, they're not going to sure what they're going to find as the project continues to go on. And there's going to have to be significant structural changes to the roof and work done.
Mrs. Gatos, one of the other issues at hand is once we get back into a winter time, if you have a significant snow load on a roof, we're having some fears of a roof collapse.
Sure. But that's where his health and safety and the neighboring properties, and even for Monroeville as a whole,
yeah, we certainly wouldn't want to have a roof collapse on you.
Is the house safe for someone to live in?
No.
From what we can see from the exterior, I would assume, I would say.
Well, okay, so now the question would be, Mr. Romick, would you be willing to let Jason come in and inspect inside the home?
Well, he just said he's not qualified to inspect.
Yeah, for a structural integrity of a house, he would have to get.
He told me I would have to get
engineer, design professional
to look at it,
do testing, and be able to tell that house is.
Right.
The one roofer that I had.
I guess the major concern, Mr. Romick, is your safety.
Yes.
And I really sympathize with you. I don't know how you managed all these years to do this.
What happened during that 4-inch rain?
Very hard. What, pardon me?
That 4-inch rain that we've been talking about on the 21st, what happened to the inside of your house?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Nope.
We have people with houses that are still structurally sound and they got flooded.
I was there actively working to empty the water.
You'd have to have a lot of tubs, a lot of emptying.
Pardon me?
You'd have to have a lot of tubs and a lot of emptying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying we have people with sound houses getting flooded.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what was in your house.
Yeah, a lot of water came out of the sky.
Yeah, it I had no problem with that one. I thought I would, but it didn't.
Well,
But
can
I
I ask
worked.
a question?
Go ahead.
Can we maybe take the time to have the proposal from the roofing company submitted, as well as him allowing entrance by our code enforcement department to just look inside to see if it's worth taking it any further before we just condemn it?
Well, if it's structurally worth
Well,
going
it-
further.
Well, yeah, but I mean, even just visually, they may go in and say,
Right, right.
you know, but, because I don't want to, I sure don't want to be part of a roof collapsing on someone's life.
Well, that roof is very steeply pitched.
Well, and I understand the pitches of the roof.
Yeah, and
But the point is you have an open roof, and it doesn't have the integrity to stay there if we get a big snowfall. The weight of the
And
snow
we've
itself
also
could
gone
collapse.
back and forth with the years of the magistrate of him having proposals, not having proposals, bringing things in. And that's finally why Judge Herbst issued the
And I know
fine.
it's hard for him to finally, you know, Mr. Herbst gives everyone a lot of
Yeah,
chances.
he brought in paperwork and he said he wasn't getting a call back. The judge called the contractor. and
Well,
that's
yeah,
kinda
and I
what-
know you said in the beginning you had the money and you couldn't even get a roofer then, and on that part I'm kind of lost as to why.
Are you
Before your health
employed today,
issues came
Mr.
into
Rumi?
play.
I'm employed. I haven't
Right.
returned yet to work. I haven't been released by the
Okay,
doctor.
and so you have a steady income? You will have a steady income?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, that's good. So, my other question would be, I'm looking at that roof, and I'm not a roofer. I've done roofs, but I'm not a roofer. And I see structural issues before they can even put shingles on, and the tar paper and anything like that. I don't know, Mr. Rumig, it's
Yeah, like I said, the estimate that I was talking about, that included replacing
what was the estimate?
any structural.
I can promise you it was very
How much
high.
was the estimate?
That, it wasn't for the whole roof.
Okay.
Because the back of the house, which you haven't seen, is okay.
Yeah, but still, how
fine.
much was the estimate approximately?
Well, it's going to be well over $10,000.
Yeah.
Okay. Just for the front, but that
How
did.
many-
Well over.
That did.
That's, yeah.
Well, counsel, what I'll do at this point, I'm not stopping the meeting whatsoever, or the hearing whatsoever, but just to remind everybody that this is something that we're not going to act on tonight. It's something that is to be considered for our Tuesday meeting, and council could act on it one way or the other, and it could also be tabled at the Tuesday meeting. But I just want to let everybody know that we're not doing any action on it this evening. Just want to say
The
that.
only other comment I would have is that this has been going on for 7 years.
7 years, Jason, or longer?
Probably longer. I have things from 2012, but from what I was,
Do
from
you
what I've
own-
gathered, because
I'm sorry.
with the inspectors, it started with.
It's not like it's 6 months old.
Mr. Shufo, Mr. Dayton, myself,
Okay.
Sean Jett, and it just kind of moves
Do you
along
own the
moves
property?
along the path.
Do you own the property clear, free and clear?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
You pay your taxes on time, sir?
Yes.
You ever
Thank you.
considered going to a lending institution and borrowing money to get
A home equity loan?
whatever you need to do to get this place in shape?
I've never considered a home equity loan. I do have a friend who, he's very well off. When he saw how bad my roof was, he volunteered to either co-sign a loan or to just plain give me the money.
Well, why didn't you consider that or have?
I am.
Well, I think
I am
you're to the
considering
point after all this time.
I think you're past the point.
You got,
Well, when if and when I get a roofer who will actually commit to doing it, as far as
money
I'm
talk,
concerned, they
sir.
can start.
Money talk. You have the money up front. I promise you, I could find you a roofer tomorrow morning.
Yeah, but
Do you have to have a guarantee? of
7
money?
years.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
And what it is,
I
Mr.
retired
Remick, and
from
you,
roofing.
What?
we're just concerned about your health
Yeah.
Well,
And safety, because,
and your safety, obviously.
yeah,
health and
because if
welfare.
we don't want to be responsible for that. I can't carry that kind of weight around on my mind and shoulders. Believe me, I carry enough. I can't,
And you're in in respect to from the proximity to the houses. Jason, it's the old standard, they're actually quite closer, they're less than 30 feet.
The houses? Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
And
that's what I
then
thought.
he actually has to the left of this house, is a detached garage that is in no better, there's no holes in the roof, but you can tell there's leaning to the structure and it's.
Ready to fall
the slope-
down.
Yeah, it's no,
You can see even
the
the
roof isn't as bad as this.
Right.
But it's still part of the property and.
So I'll see if I can summarize this correctly. The recommendations for us to consider are
Caving in.
condemnation of the property as it exists now, and then action on it.
Yeah, I mean-
Unless we can show cause that something's going to be in process being
Yeah,
repaired.
and
Correct. Is that
like I
right?
said, we've been going on this for years and it's progressively gotten worse. Now it's gotten to the point where.
And we also have other people at threat.
He's still living
At
here.
risk. Okay.
I know.
The other alternative is in order to vacate the property, which under the Uniform Construction Code, you could, and that is in a situation where it's determined that it's not habitable to live in, but it's not yet in a condition where it's structurally unsafe if nobody's in it, and would just totally collapse if something happens. So there's sort of a two-step process there.
I just don't
And there's
wanna
a stronger standard for condemnation and demolition than there is for
Right.
the order to vacate.
Okay, so order to vacate prior to
Yeah.
being condemned and to demolish, but then we also clearly have threats to
Do
the
we need
properties
to
on
have
the other
somebody
side.
go in and look inside the house? No?
Well, if Mr. Romig is amenable to letting us bring somebody in who is qualified to make that determination, it's up to him whether he wants to let us in or not. Our other alternative would be to get an administrative warrant to enter the premises from the magistrate or from the courts.
Yeah.
And, I think everybody here wants to be cooperative, but Mr. Romig, I think there's a concern here that there may be structural damage inside the house that's worse than just the roof. And you may be correct, it may only be the roof, but the situation, as I think you would agree, is getting worse and worse. So we would like to get your permission to have somebody come in that would be qualified to determine whether the house is habitable and whether it's a safe structure or an unsafe structure.
And who would that be?
Well, it would be somebody who would be an engineer who would be qualified to do that.
Well, if I hire my own engineer to come in and
No,
look at it.
that wouldn't work.
Well,
That
you've been taking a long time to hire a roofer,
You'd have
with all
to-
due
yeah, you
respect.
would have to have one hired before
So-
Tuesday.
We want to do this as expeditiously as possible, and be fair to you also, that if the conditions are as you represent, we need to know that. We don't know what's going on inside.
But we would need your permission before,
We could go in.
correct?
Yes.
But it has to be an engineer we pick. We don't want that to happen. We want something good to happen.
We're trying to help. But if you won't let us in the front door, we don't really have a choice.
And I honestly have concerns about the other adjoining structures that are in
Correct.
place to do that. I appreciate your situation,
No,
and
he
the
can
process
do
that
this
you've gone
tomorrow.
through, but building collapse poses stress to the neighbors and individuals close to you.
And it's not like it's been 6 months. This has been 7 years.
Yes.
And Mr. Romick, we could, you don't have to, I know we're looking for an answer right now, but you can put some thought into this and you can contact our staff prior to Tuesday's meeting if that's something that you're willing to do. So you don't have to answer right now because we can give you some chance to think about what we're proposing to you.
Keep in mind, that's 4 days away. You've been
Correct.
around for 7 years.
Yeah.
Days away. Yeah.
Well, yes, and so
And,
if we
you
don't
can
hear
contact us.
anything, we will be voting on Tuesday night.
We will act on
Okay?
Tuesday
We
night.
will act on Tuesday night.
Mr. Sonnefeld, is there anything else you want to add into the record
No,
at this
sir.
point? Mr. Romig, is there anything you would like to add into the record at this point?
I'm still waiting to hear back from some of the people who came out and looked at it, and they haven't given me written estimates. They haven't responded yet. I don't know if they will or not. All I can do is keep trying.
I personally met a place that even if you had a roofer that was willing to start next week,
Yeah.
if someone doesn't come inside that house and verify that that property is structurally sound, you putting a new roof on is not gonna
That's not gonna answer. We
That's-
definitely need to get somebody
Yes,
inside there to look.
that's my
Even
bottom
if
line.
he did, he still has to go through the permitting process, because there's gotta be
That's
structural
Correct.
work that's gonna have to
Somebody
be
needs to
done,
be
so he'll have to
inside.
submit
So, yeah,
permits and
because
and all
I'm
that.
just afraid that the interior is not going to sustain the, and you're putting people's lives in danger having them up on that roof to fix it.
Not only that, the stress, the
It
the
could
threat to
collapse
the
at any time.
to
To
the neighbors.
your
as well.
neighbors,
To the
yes.
neighbors as well. We're speaking of that as
So
well now,
that's
too.
why it's very heavily suggested that you allow someone to come in. Okay?
Let the staff know.
Yeah.
Just let us know,
Let
that
them
you've
know.
got a
Think
few
it
days,
through.
think it through, and let someone know, okay, before Tuesday?
Mr. Ratzer,
Yes.
would you recommend that Mr. Romick get an attorney to represent him?
That's really up to him.
I don't know that he has the money for that, Tom. He needs
Well,
to
no,
have the
I'm
money for
just,
the roof.
I'm just trying to look at different ways for him to protect himself. However, he hasn't protected himself in 7 years.
There you go.
And that seems to be the biggest issue. And just by looking at that roof, it looks like the whole thing's gonna have to be replaced. I mean, all the cross members and everything else because of all the water damage that's been going on there for 7 years.
Mr. Romig, is there anything else you want to add into the record at this time?
You can see on this one picture, here's the detached
Can't,
garage
I'd like
with
to see
with some
that.
vehicles in the driveway. That's the
Yeah.
detached garage I was speaking of.
Wasn't there
Why-
some
why
criminal
did-
activity in that area too, not long ago?
Pardon me?
Some arrests were made over that way? I'm not saying your house, I'm just,
Rest?
yeah, there was
That's another
some
issue, I
drug,
believe.
yeah, some drug busting.
Oh, that's
Another
down
issue.
the road.
Right.
Yeah.
That's,
Council, do you have any other questions for Mr. Sonnenfeld or Mr. Romig?
No.
No.
So what we're going to do is we're going to close the public hearing at this point. This will be considered by council on Tuesday. And Mr. Romig, you have some clear direction from us as far as what we were looking to get from you. So if you could contact the staff in the next couple of days before Tuesday to let us know if we can get somebody in there to look at the structure.
can I ask Mr. Sonnenfeld a question? You were saying about my detached garage, you were saying it's leaning?
Yes.
How is it leaning?
We
It's
can-
a cement block garage. It's not leaning in
Well, either
any direction.
the
or
siding or the roof is shifted, but we can tell whenever we are out there that there's something going on in there.
There's, it's solid and upright. There's nothing, that puzzles me right there. My neighbor's property next door, which is not very far away, actually, their house actually sits on my property by a little bit. Their house is actually built, and it's actually over onto my property a little bit.
Which is all the more reason why we're concerned, because that
Be
house
worried,
is so
yes.
close to your structure. As far as the garage, that wouldn't be of any bearing on this decision. We're strictly talking about the home right now, whether the garage was leaning or not leaning, or structurally sound or not. We're really focused on the home at this point. That's what council's going to be considering on Tuesday. So we're going to close this portion of the meeting, we'll close the public hearing. You have time to contact the municipal office before Tuesday with any additional information you want to add into the record, but council will consider this on Tuesday, whether we act on it, table it, or otherwise. Very good. Thank you, Mr. Sonnenfeld. And Mr. Romig, we wish you the best.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Council, we're going to move over to our, pardon me while I go through the list here on our agenda. We just have an acknowledgement announcement to get into the record of Ernie Groover from the Monroeville Foundation, the president of the foundation, and also Debbie Izok, ID Solutions, and Kanu Sani, director of community affairs, Allegheny Health Network, Highmark Health, for the Community Day event that we had, tell me the date, 2 weekends ago. It was an excellent event. We really appreciate all of their hard work on that event and all the staff, volunteers, and everyone involved with the event. Council, we have an executive session announcement. that council conducted an executive session for personnel and litigation reasons prior to tonight's Citizens Night beginning at 6:30 PM until 7 PM. Council legislative action, if any, shall be taken at the August 13th, 2019 council meeting. Council, for your consideration, you had received a copy of the minutes of Citizens Night from July 2nd, 2019, the council work session of July 2nd, 2019, the regular council meeting of July 9th, 2019. Does anyone have any questions or comments about the minutes?
No, sir.
Our tax collections, any comments about those
No,
or
sir.
questions?
None.
List of bills and budget transfers. Mrs. Gatos, any questions?
I'm good, thank you.
Coach?
No, sir.
Harvey?
Nope.
Johns?
No, sir.
Mayor Cinco? Nope. Mr. Wilson?
No, thank
You're
you.
moving
Thank you.
faster this evening, Mr. Mayor. Drop
Oh.
it.
Well, it is after.
Payroll report. Any questions, council?
None.
No.
Seeing none, moving on. We will consider our vacancies on boards and commissions on Tuesday. Now we have our consent agenda. We have one motion this evening. It's a motion to authorize to advertise for bids for a roof overlay on the municipal building. Mr. Little, if you could explain that, please.
Yeah, as, speaking since roofs seem to be the big subject this evening, as council knows, we have had some of our own leaks off and on this roof. Nothing surprisingly, when we had the 4-inch rainstorm on the 21st, because we have done some, quote, Band-Aid solutions up there over the last 2-3 years. But council is aware of this. I think it's time to get a new roof and overlay, probably a rubber overlay roof up there before the inclement weather sets in, and looking for a motion authorized to advertise for that.
Thank you very much. Any comments, council, or any questions?
We need it.
Nope. Very good. Resolutions, we have 5 this evening. Mr. Little.
Yeah, the first resolution is a resolution authorizing the municipal manager to enter into an agreement for the municipality's participation in the County of Allegheny for snow and ice control on county roads for the years 2019, 20, 21, and 22. This is more or less a housekeeping item because the current agreement with the county, when we do their roads, plow their and salt their roads, is up. The money that we get for it is virtually the same. A little bit of adjustments on the pink sheet on the resolutions are the roads Beatty, Haymaker, Center, Pitcairn, Stroshine, James, Patton, and Saunders Station. And you could look at that, and as I said, we get approximately 38, 40, and 41 respectively for those 3 years. It's virtually the same as the last 3 years. Any questions?
Nope.
No.
Next.
Okay, another resolution changing the names of various roads within the municipality. This was at the request of 911 Allegheny County, and those name changes are under the resolutions in your pink sheet. Leslie Drive to Leslie Road, Pink Oak Drive to, as one word, not 2 words, Princeton Drive, to Princeton Road, and Snowball Drive to Snowball Road. Any questions on that?
Nope.
Okay, third was a resolution readdressing existing homes on Maple Crest Drive. The spreadsheet is on the resolution on the name changes, or excuse me, the address changes. This is something that's been talked about for several years. Any question on that?
Nope.
Nope.
Solves
Okay.
the problem.
Okay, number 4, resolution adopting the Singleton subdivision sewage planning module. That'll be on the agenda. And number 5 is a resolution authorizing the demolition, slums and blight at the location of which we had the public hearing on just now, 2509 Monroeville Boulevard, Allegheny County, lot and block number 639L178. Any questions on that?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, and that's the resolution.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Little. All of that will be considered for our Tuesday meeting. We're going to stick with we'll move over to our reports from our municipal staff. Mr. Ratcher, anything this evening?
No report.
Mr. Little, do you have a couple things?
Yeah, we have Pennsylvania Resource Council is having their annual collection event over in Boyce Park. And the date I'll get to in a second, but also the Monroeville Jazz Festival is on August the 17th. And as Nicole earlier in the evening, which seems about 2 days ago, said the Library Fun Fest is on August the 24th.
Me.
And also, the Monroeville Foundation Golf Outing is on Friday at Meadow Wink on September the 13th. And I'll find the date, and you can continue on. Here it goes right here. The date for the Go Green at the Pennsylvania Resource Council collection is going to be on August the 17th, the same day as the Monroeville Jazz Festival. It's going to be from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and that is going to be over at Boyce Park. And I must say, I've been over there several times, and the Pennsylvania Resource Council runs a very, very well-organized collection event for recycling materials. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Little. Mr. Hugus.
No, sir.
Are you sure?
Are you sure?
You're not dragging me into those waters.
Ms. Rock.
Real briefly, I just want to let council know that we've begun the 2020 budget process for the general fund operating budget. So
Very good.
meetings are being held in the month of August. So.
Best of luck to the staff.
Yes.
A lot of work.
Good job.
Thank you.
Move on.
And moving over to our reports of council members, Mrs. Gatos.
I'm going
this
to
evening?
say this as fast as I can. I want to thank Chief Cole for his presentation and update on the vehicle break-ins and arrests that have been made. I'm going to say it again. Remember, please lock your cars. I also want to thank all the men and women that came out and took care of the community during that terrible rainstorm. The MS4 and Public Works crews, the Monroeville Water Authority crews came out, our volunteer firefighters, paramedics, EMTs, our emergency management coordinator, our police department, and our dispatch center. They were risking their own lives while helping our residents. So please, everybody, remember that. Remember they put their lives on the line to help you. So everyone did the best they could. I think they did a wonderful job for such quick rising waters to ensure the best safety for our residents. Next, I would like to remind everyone that school is getting ready to start, so be aware of the children. When you're driving, always remember to drive like it's your child out there walking. Next, the Community Days was addressed. It was a great success. It's growing larger each year. It was much bigger this year. We would like to thank those that worked so hard, hosted by the Monroeville Foundation, Debbie Izak, the vendors and sponsors of Highmark, AHN, Forbes Hospital. I believe it will continue to truly become something for everyone there. And most importantly, I would love to wish my parents happy anniversary tomorrow. It'll be their 61st year of marriage, and much love to both of them. I think we all could aspire to be what they are. And that's it.
Thank you.
Oh, and I like your hair tonight, Nick.
Thanks.
Looks good.
All right.
I do too.
Oh, good.
Thank you, Mr. Hatcher. I don't know, but it's holding up even
It
after a
looks good.
3-hour
It
meeting.
looks
Okay,
good.
great.
So that's all I have.
Thanks. Mr. Poach.
Obviously, for the sake of sanity,
wrong with
I'll
my
move to hold my comments until Tuesday
Your eyes are
as
getting
well.
worse.
But again, thank
Make your
you for
faces.
all the emergency services participated during the flood as well. Well done, folks. Absolutely well done.
Thank you. Mr. Harvey.
Just, I'll cut this short and Tuesday give the rest. I wanted to thank Councilman Tom Wilson for doing what he could for my ward during my absence during the rain. I was out of state during the flooding, and I know Mr. Wilson drove around the ward and assisted where he could. Tom, again, I want to thank you.
Nice job, Tom.
I want to express sincere thanks to the residents of Edgemead, Meadowdale Plan, for all the firefighters from number 5, for the food they provided after the rain and flooding the next day. All of the members wanted me to thank all of you. Thought it was an amazing gesture of kindness. We'll end it there.
Nice.
Thank you. Mr. Johns.
I have nothing to say except I got new glasses.
Who couldn't notice those?
Very artsy.
Thank you.
Thank you. You look great.
It's about time.
I know.
Look at the artsy.
Mr.
I thought you won those
I'm
on
not
Carnival.
touching that one.
Mr. Arasenko.
Just a real quick
That's
thank
your
you
wife.
to our first responders and obviously to our police department. Doug, you and the guys always do great work. I'll do more report on Tuesday.
Thank you. And Mr. Duncan, he was here at the start of the meeting. He had to run out to, with some childcare issues with his grandchildren, so he apologizes. He had to leave early. Mr. Wilson.
Quickly, first of all, I'd like to know what your wife's wearing tonight. With,
Glasses.
what
Thank-
kind of
clarifying
glasses is she wearing? The next thing I'd like to do is thank the firefighters, all the firefighters from all the stations that were there to help save that young girl at Leaside Drive. Then Mr. Paul Yugas in the Public Works Department, they were out from 9 p.m. Sunday night, and MS4 was there. They were out cleaning storm drains in order for the water to flow better and try to get it moving down the street so it didn't flood. And last but not least is the trash guys were out picking up damaged goods each day, clearing the driveways for the flood victims. And again, we have to have a big attaboy for all of our public workers and our garbage guys.
And their supervisor.
And whom?
And their supervisor.
Well, I said that up there.
It was all them.
Didn't I say your name?
You don't need to say my name. It
Yes,
was
I
all,
do.
It was all them.
Yes, I
It
did.
was, it was a great
I give
effort
enough
by all.
crap, so I have to make sure I treat them nice
Okay, motion.
publicly. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Yugas.
Thank you, Mr. Yugas.
It was
Thank
all
you,
them.
Mr. Hugus.
Look at him, he's red.
I'm hungry.
Hey, you know, it's getting
Excellent.
late, we're starting to get punchy.
I am too.
Excellent job.
Absolutely.
I'll just wrap it up. Congratulations to our new officers. Once again, I'm going to echo everybody else's comments about the emergency management of the flood and all of the first responders, our Public Works Department. And we really appreciate the residents coming out this evening and sharing their stories. It's difficult to hear, and we're doing our best as far as addressing these issues, and we're going to certainly look into the items that we are able to look into in our system, stormwater system here in Monroeville. We mentioned about the car thefts. Please lock your car doors. Also sign up for Nixle alerts. You can find that information on our municipal website. That way that we can put out alerts to your cell phone via text messaging, any kind of emergency that's going on or any kind of issues in your neighborhood. I want to thank Elaine Kramer and also our Active Transportation Steering Committee. And I want to thank Mr. Gatos for the compliment. Nothing like ending an evening with a compliment, so thank you, I appreciate it. But anyway, with that, I would seek a motion to adjourn.
So, second.
And a second. Thank you and good night.
Good night.
I compliment.